Where we going with it? Now where we going with it? Where we going with it? What? Where we going with it? Ha! Yo, where we going with it? Ha! Where we going? Going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I seen kingdoms come and I seen kingdoms fall. You could check it for yourself. You could read it on the wall like graffiti on the wall. Middlemen is what it's called. I taught y'all in the past. Now I'm back to teach you all how to elevate and repent from filthy ways. I know it's hard, but it feels good to fast for 30 days. I got y'all searching for the land that's across the burning sands, where the men turn into gods and the gods turn into men. The jewel of the Nile is in the motherland. Each one teach one, so go tell your brother, man. You're feeling down, then you got to snap back like a rubber band. Lord, going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. I'm going back to Kemet, styling, profiling. It's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. Hey. All the words I chant when I come forth by day. From the night, these sacred chapters, and it's been a long time.
How many years?
About 3,000. Man, we got to bring it back. The days and times of living is getting whack. Too many youth wanna ride and die. I try to tell them about the I and I. In my presence, I got y'all feeling divine essence. I come through dropping jewels that's full of timeless lessons. Not Egyptian, I'm Kemetic, spitting poetic relics from the highest mind. Look to the skies to find where I am headed. I come when I be spitting, y'all be playing, hating me. I don't know, probably cause I'm serious like A and B. And C, we alike sometimes more than we would like. I got.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
If you're conscious and awakened, you heard about sa.neter TV. If you're conscious, why you hating? Some of us think too small, just too afraid to fall. If you're conscious and awakened, you know that the studio gets deep. Black news and history in the making.
Like the video, thumb up the video.
It seemed like everybody watched the House of Consciousness. Got them tuning in here in the States to every continent. You got your holy book, your references and documents. Then hit your brother's sign, get it cracking if you're confident. sa.neter TV, it don't get no more reality. It's helping us stay mindful of the struggle in totality. Humble yourself and let the commentary resonate. Living in these times, this here is sure to help you entering a new zone. Hope the dialogue ain't too strong. Y'all know that we've been waiting too long. And ever since I stepped into this paradigm, most of the time all I got is building on my mind. Is a black throne where kings and queens come get their facts on. Just be prepared to have your mind blown. And ever since I stepped into this paradigm, most of the time all I got is freedom on my mind. For real, for real.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Peace, everyone. Just killing some time. Y'all know Shaka always late, you know. Here's what he said to me so y'all won't be. Dear sa.neter, don't panic. Just running to Whole Foods. I literally have no food in my house. And I have to go there before the store closed. Because, you know, once we finish this show, stores are going to be closed. So go ahead and do you, Shaka. Hurry up. He said I should be about 10 to 15 minutes late. I object. I say he will be at least 20 minutes to a half an hour late. That's what I say. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to stick by that. And so, yeah, so when he come in, let me throw the link in there. I want y'all to throw this, thumb this video up, y'all. I want everybody to leave sa.neter Studios. We're going to be on one channel today because I got it going on both channels, splitting up the subs. So everybody come on over here to the HOK. We're going to be on the HOK this evening, y'all. Click the link. The link is in the chat. We going off of sa.neter Studios. We're going to be on the HOK. So I need everybody to leave the HOK. Click the link so that y'all could be here and that y'all will hear this message. Okay. We're getting ready to sign out of the sa.neter Studios. Click the HOK. And going once, going twice. And I just wanted to let the people know, because some people get the alerts over there on sa.neter Studios. So that's why I do that all the time, you know. Go live on both channels, let them know we're going to be over here. And this is where we at. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay. We stopped it over there. Yeah, right now. Okay, so we are just here to warm it up a little bit, give Shaka a chance to get in the building. By the time we get in the building, the people should be ready to eat. Okay, so as you see, Shaka does the unthinkable, connecting the dots. Are we the people connected to ancient Kemet? That's the title. That's what he's going to have to deal with. And it is what it is. So I want to thank everybody who have contributed financially with their hard-earned money and donated to make this possible. I thank y'all. Thank y'all, man. Help me to help you as well. See that? Shaka able to go get some food now. He able to fill up the refrigerator a little bit or the cabinets and get something to eat. Thanks to the people. I say we all connected. Let me see. Is Apostle in the building? Let me drop the link. We're gonna talk till he get here. He should be here, but let's warm it up. I want to warm the show up so Shaka get here. He just ran to the store. He said he'll be 10 to 15 minutes late. I doubt that. I think he's going to be close to a half hour late because you're going to Whole Foods, and that's always crowded on the 125th. That joint is always crowded. Okay, there we go. We are locked and loaded. We are in the building. In case anybody would like to come through and say something before Shaka get in here. All right, we got my man. Neil Spike, what it is, brother?
Give me a second, so I need to mute my mic. Hold up.
Mute your mic, brother. Mute that mic. Apple Nation, shout out to Apple Nation Records. Apple Nation Records is in the building.
All right, you want me to come off the mic or mute it, Si?
Nah, you good. You're good. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, today, peace to the family. Look, today I was out working. I met a brother, old man, and he said he took his DNA test and it went back to Ghana. And he said from there, he's an old man himself. He said it went back to the Pharaoh Ramses. No, that's the.
But mine do too, brother. Mine do too.
Wow, man. So
Yeah,
I think they do connect.
Well,
I think the dots do connect. Yeah.
Yeah, because see, look, we got to understand. Once we know that they migrated into West Africa, there's a hell of a chance. Because Shaka and Smash said, yeah, they migrated into West Africa.
Yeah.
So if they migrated into West Africa, you know, a lot of us was taken from West Africa.
Yep.
And brought over here.
And I think the real issue, Saw, with Black America is, are we connected to the Egyptians closer than white people? And I say 100% yes.
Hold up. Say that again.
Okay, so I think the elephant in the room for Black America is, and white America, who's the closest connected to Kemet? Black people or Europeans? And I say Black people hands down. All of them.
Of course.
Yes.
So we don't. And what Captain Tazoriak used to say, and he still say it. Captain says that they are more connected to the white man than they are to Africans. Man,
wow.
You be coming up with crazy stuff, boy.
I don't know where that came from, Si. Hey, Si, whatever happened to that spot you had? It was in Brooklyn somewhere. You was in the Benz one day. You like, I'm gonna sing you that, Neil Spike. It was a spot where you take like a hot tardy, but they had no liquor. You walked in and you got a drink.
No, that was in Harlem.
Harlem, okay.
Yeah, man, that's on 123rd Street and 7th Avenue.
And it's all organic and natural?
Yeah, man. Oh,
and I need the address or something in the back channel or something, son.
Well, you don't be in Harlem, brother.
Don't they want but we got Amazon nowadays.
Yeah.
I can hit them. See, that's why we got to start networking more. Because I know I can hit them. They can put me a box together and I pay for it to come out here.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Man, I ain't had none of that in a while, bro.
Wow.
But,
that was,
If I drink one, it's called shots. And it's called, the shot I get is called Scotty. It's called the Scotty. And if you drink one of them shots, if you don't drink, you're going to feel like you drunk as hell if you don't drink.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I got to pull over because I took two Scots. Two Scots.
Yeah.
It burns.
And it has no alcohol in it?
I think it may have some percent alcohol. I got to look at it. It might have 2%.
If it don't, side. And then what about your hats? Remember them hats you used to sell with the Ankh and sa.neter and you still do them?
I can get them anytime.
I'm about to get at you on a hat. Yeah. And rings and stuff like that, jewelry.
Oh yeah. We got all of that down here, man. Come. Where you at? Where you living at?
You know, way out here when you came out here to LA and Leimert Park, I tried to catch up with you.
Oh, damn, that's well, they got that stuff out there.
Yeah, but you know, New York always the capital of information and everything. It'd be that real that real fashion. Like, man, where do you get that from? New York.
Man, Perry is out there in Leimert Park. He's out there.
What's his name?
Perry,
okay. Yeah, you know, what's his name out here too? West African guy, brother. What's his name? You always have him on the show. He don't want to connect to Kemet for nothing.
I don't know.
What's his name? You know, the old man. He be always talking about we West African, we not Kemet.
I don't know. Hey, Moses, man. What's up, man? Talk to me, brother. What's happening?
Hey, peace, blessings, ancestors, love, dwelling in the light of Yah, the Most High, shine down on and in the lives of all of the Creator's righteous children, resurrecting as gods on earth. Ancestors' protection be around all of the righteous people. sa.neter, I appreciate you letting me on, man, because
Hey, what city are you in? What city you in?
right now I'm up in an area called Filer City, Michigan.
Okay,
I'm up
because
here.
it's dark over here where I'm at. So
Yeah,
you
I'm up here on the lake, man. I think it's Lake Michigan. I'm on the top of that joint.
oh wow. So yeah, it's still light out there. I see.
Yeah,
It's dark.
man. Well, the sun, y'all always be following me around, man. I'm like the last one he look at before he leave and whatnot. All right. Hey, but I just wanted to give a quick soliloquy before Shaka come in. I'm looking forward to his presentation, man, because our teachings, this is what our teachings teach us, sa.neter. Okay, so I remember what you said yesterday when you was talking to Brother Clyde. You was like, yo, people call themselves Moses. Ain't that disrespect to the ancestors?
Yeah. I was just joking around, brother. I was just playing.
All right, but check it out, right? According to the language of the people in East Africa, the word Moses, the definition is drawn out of water. And water is just another way of saying liquid. Now, what Moses means is you have the ether, which is a combustible liquid, which is the universe. And then you have the water down here, which is the oceans that we fell into. So according to our teaching, we were designed by the same creator that created this planet, which is the universe. The universe creates all physical things. So for us to believe that the universe did not create a physical manifestation of itself called God, which is us, come on, man, we gotta use common sense. So the universe manifested or created a physical version of itself and dropped it here into the waters, into the Ethiopic Ocean. We call it the Indian Ocean. We went through an evolutionary process and we came out in the area of South Africa. And I believe you can say the Khoisan, we're going to say Khoisan people because, of the traits that I had. So the Khoisan people go through that evolutionary process in the water. They come in as amphibians. And this is based on Dogon tribe too. Dogon tribe too also talks about the fish people. That's just us, still going through our evolutionary process. So we come to shore as amphibians in South Africa. We become permanent land dwellers in South Africa, but then we start following the rivers from South Africa all the way up. Now there's rivers on both sides, on the east side of Africa and on the west side, but obviously we went eastward because the sun rises in the east. So we're always following the sun. So we're following the rivers and going in an eastward direction because that's the direction that the sun is coming up in. And then we establish civilization in the area that we call Ethiopia today. We go further down the Nile, and another civilization pops up there in the area that we call Kush and
Let me
Kemet.
ask you a question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you believe in duality?
Where women are concerned, yeah.
No. What about when we're concerned? There's a duality in everything, right? Like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Tell me what you say.
You talk about us being God and the devil.
No, I'm saying like there's a duality. Like you got good, you got bad, you got hot, you got cold. A duality in everything, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you another duality.
No, I always notice that you always say, yeah, we're the gods. So where's the other half of you at? How come you never say we're the gods and the devil? Why you never claim that part?
Oh, okay. So according to the definitions, right? Technically, I am a devil because my melanin has been emptied out, and that's what devil refers to. Devil refers to those of us whose melanin has been poured out or emptied out, because of the bloodline pollution. So yes, I am a devil, but sa.neter, you think that devil refers to something wicked? It's only wicked to me because if I'm standing next to Brother Inky in the presence of our Father, Yah the Most High, or the Son, I'm gonna burn before Inky does because my melanin has been poured out. So yeah, it's a bad thing for me and for people like me. Apostle, go ahead.
Poured out. Explain.
Yeah, That's the definition for devil. It says gurgling, as in the pouring out of a bottle. And that's referring, and because this book is taking place in African territory, you know that it's talking about the melanin. Because
No, no, brother. No, I don't know. I know that's what you add into it.
oh no, because we have the discussion about Kemet all the time. That people call themselves black according to the universe.
You that's your problem, brother. You got some great knowledge, but what you do is you add and you take away, and that's what messes it all up. When you start adding to the information.
Okay, so all right, so let's talk about black real quick. In this territory that the Bible is taking place in this East African territory, what would gurgling, as in the pouring out of a bottle, what would that refer to? The word devil.
You got the book, what it says.
I just read it.
But do it say melanin?
What else would it refer to?
No,
in the land of black people.
Let's listen. What do it say, brother? What do it say?
It says exactly what I said. It says as in the gurgling of a bottle, or gurgling as in the pouring out of a bottle. Let me give y'all the reference number, man, because I don't know that off the top of my head. While I'm looking for the reference number, let me finish telling you how we are connected to East African people.
Okay, so, it's 7:30 right now. Come on, Shaka. I know, man. Come on, brother. I know how my brother works. I know how he get it in, man.
All right, so let me hurry up and finish, man, with that, and then I'll tell y'all devil later. So we follow the rivers up into the northern eastern part of Africa. And then later, that's where we run into the people of the earth, the Indians, the Asians, the Caucasians, and we start mixing there in that territory called the Garden of Eden. And then the Phoenicians come forward, and the Phoenicians are known as a maritime people, and they were sailing the Mediterranean. They were sailing the coast of Africa, and they were sailing the coast of southern Europe. And they also were in an area known as Manoa, the Minoan Empire. But the Minoan Empire suffered a catastrophic event, and it was a volcano, earthquake. It was a very catastrophic event, which I think caused the desert situation with the Sahara Desert. It burnt up all of that. It caused all of that all the crops, all the greenery, all of the green, lush green jungles and stuff that is now the Sahara Desert happened because of what happened in that area of Crete. And our people from East Africa, the Phoenicians that were sailing from the area of Kemet, came over here to the Americas. And this is at a time before America had drifted so far away. It's called continental drift. I know you'll have people saying we didn't exist during Pangea, but there was a time when humans was on the planet where the Americas was very close to Africa. The drift, the distance between Africa and the Americas right now, that distance has happened, or continental drift has happened over thousands and thousands of years. The Americas used to be close to Africa, and so when the Phoenicians were sailing the coast of Africa, they went westward. Because a lot of even look at the Sphinx and the pyramids. That destruction that happened in Crete, it even affected over there where the pyramids is at. That's the reason why we went more westward, because it didn't affect over here as much. And so we, according to what Claude Winters was saying, I think he misunderstood what I meant by slavery. When I said slavery, I'm talking about we were supporting the Black Indians. When we came over here, we was under them.
All right, hold on. Shaka hit me up, asking me where's the link. Yo, let me let everybody go, y'all.
All right, peace.
Peace. Can everybody dismiss themselves?
Yes, I dismiss myself. Honey.
All right, go ahead. Thank y'all.
Okay.
Brother Shaka. Oh, man. All right. Let's get it in, Shaka. Let's get it in. Let me call you up. Shaka, what up, man? What up? Calling you. The link is pinned at the top. You see it?
All right. At the top of the chat. All right, good.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Let's go. We're about to get it in, y'all. We're about to get it in. Ain't no way Shaka about to prove we up. Hey. Come on, Shaka. I just told you where the link at, brother. All I ask y'all to do is just be nice. Be nice if y'all want to come in, because once he tell me to get rid of you, then I got to let y'all go because he is the guest. So if y'all come in, y'all ain't got to agree with him, but y'all could disagree, but do it respectfully, and we can have a good conversation, around that. So I need everybody to thumb up the video right now, y'all. Let me see. Let me refresh my page. I got 89 thumbs up. We got 335 people in the building. Let's like the video, y'all. Come on now. Y'all could do better than that. Y'all could do better than that. All right. We got Shaka Utmost in the building. Grandmaster Teacher Shaka, you are required to turn on the camera, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Just give me 1 second. I don't want to shock the people. They'll be talking forever.
Right.
They will be talking forever.
Right. And making up stuff at the same time.
Trust me, they will start whole new channels if I turn on the camera right now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to do that.
Right.
Oh, shit.
I hope I know you know the title that I gave you. This is a strong title, brother.
Yeah.
And if anybody can do it, it's Shaka Utmost.
Yeah, but I'm like, why you give me that title?
Because we never did that. But I remember years ago, Shaka, you probably don't remember. Years ago, you taught that and you broke it down and showed it. You probably don't remember now. You made the connection between Kemet and West Africa.
All right, boom. Okay. All right. Just get myself together.
But just speak on what you know. That's all. That's all good. Yeah, that's what you always do. Correct. And we're going to have Smash come in later on to add on to what you're saying.
Cool. I'm sure whatever Smash has to say. Hold on 1 second. You don't have me on camera, do you?
No, you behind. You're in the back. Nobody can see you. All right, there you go. You good? You ready for me to let you in? I can't hear you, though. I can't hear you because you're in the back. Let me know. Shake your head if you're ready for me to let you in. All right. All right. And without any further ado, I bring to you the true young scholar, Shaka Utmost. Let's give it up for Shaka Utmost, y'all. Come on, man. Y'all ain't clapping. I ain't got my clap sounds here, though. But anyway, I will. But anyway, Shaka, what's happening with you, brother? Good to see you.
Man. There's a lot happening with me. There's always a lot happening with me. So
yes.
I'm just trying to stay on top of all of it. That's all. It's not easy.
Hey, how's your shirt business coming along?
Say that again?
I don't see. How is your shirt business coming along?
Oh, it's not. Well, the shirt business is not really my primary concern right now. I mean, people actually purchase them. My primary concern really is just the return of my own platform, Facts Over Feelings with Shaka Utmost, and the series that I'm producing, which is Kemetville. And the t-shirts are related to Kemetville, but I do have another t-shirt line coming that is related to my music as well. So there'll be a lot, there'll be more than enough on the ShakaUtmost.com website for people to be able to come in, you know, please themselves and have a piece of the legacy. You know,
when did you cross over from hip hop? I remember when I first met you, you used to walk up and down 125th Street with your headphones on. You had the big headphones like I got right now, and you know, you used to be going up and down, sounding like Tupac and DMX. So, when did this crossover come, where now you became more of an R&B jazz singer?
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that even with respect to the t-shirts that are going to be related to my music, that's more towards the rap stuff, the stuff that is very reminiscent of Tupac, not DMX, not ever DMX, but certainly the stuff that people associate and affiliate with Tupac, and rightfully so, because he was a very great influence on me, very, very great. And I'm more, like I always tell,
you ain't never get to meet him yet, right? You ain't never meet him.
No, I didn't get to meet him. I was fortunate enough to spend time with people who were very close to him, such as Tretch from Naughty by Nature. Everybody knows how tight Tupac and Tretch were. So I got to spend time with Tretch on a number of occasions, even driving in his car with him, and which was a really cool experience. And quite a few other people. I mean, you know, people at record labels who knew Pac, who expressed interest in signing me at the time. You're talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. And but you know, the record industry was really going through a lot of craziness because of all of this internet stuff that was coming on the scene. So but you know, the singing stuff, I was singing before I was rapping, you know. Oh, let me find out. King Simon, of course he did. Right? Absolutely. All right. So one more person that I'm familiar with who knew Pac, right? In fact, the residence that I live in, it's a co-op, and his mother, Afeni Shakur, was very instrumental in making it a co-op because she was very instrumental here in Harlem. And not only that, his cousins, actually, his very close first cousins, live right above me on one floor up. So it's like his presence is always around, you know. I mean, think about it. I live right across the street from where the brother got his first piece of coochie. I mean, I probably shouldn't say that, but it's true. You know. Ilsa, I can hear you.
All right, let's calm down on that type of language there, brother.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Well, I'm glad you said coochie, so that's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, you said coochie. Coochie is
his first piece of black butterfly. How's that?
That sounds way better. There you go.
I live right across the street from where Tupac got his first piece of black butterfly. When you listen to his songs, he always shouts this block out. Always.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, he always do. Shout out to 112th and 7th Ave. Yeah, always, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. All right. So you got a heavy task at hand, and it's called Shaka Does the Unthinkable. Connecting the dots. Are we the people connected to ancient Kemet? I'll pass you the floor, brother, and let's get it in.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, you know, before I go to any documentation or anything like that, I think that the topic itself deserves some commentary first, right?
Yes, sir.
Because there's some things that people need to understand about that topic and that subject matter, and no one ever really talks about it, right? So, first we should ask a question, right? The first question should be, why would one think there is no connection between Kemet and West Africa? Why would one think that?
Good question, brother. Good question.
See, that's a very good question, because and it's one that we don't take the time to answer. We do all of the heavy lifting. We force people to make us prove when they have not proved that there was no connection. They have not proved that there were no migrations. So we end up always having to prove what should not need proving. You have, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example, right? You can name any kingdom on the European so-called continent, right? Any kingdom, the Habsburg kingdom or this kingdom, that kingdom, you can name any kingdom, right? Within the Holy Roman Empire, right? Because a lot of these were more kinglets than kingdoms. They're described as kingdoms, but more or less they were kinglets, right? Multiple kings, minor kings, so on and so on. But here's the thing. Nobody ever questions what side of the European continent they come from. sa.neter, this is the one thing that I miss about being on other platforms. I'm able to have the interaction with the host. When I'm on here, I end up essentially getting left by myself. So he's not here to even respond or react to what I just said because it was very powerful. Hey, sa.neter, I'm gonna need you to come back in here. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be in here alone. sa.neter, are you coming back in? No, he's off wheeling and dealing. So in any event, I guess it's just you and me, people. The point I'm making is that I'm going to make it again because I really would have liked some reaction from him. From now on, when I come on his platform, I'm going to bring someone with me. So at least I have a live person because I'm the kind of person I feed off of live reaction. When I see someone respond and react to something that I've said, it lets me know whether or not if I'm having an impact. I don't want to guess. You know what I'm saying? And so, sa.neter, the moment you come back in here, I will resume with the presentation. But in the meantime, please remember to visit me at, oh, he's back. Visit me at Facts Over Feelings with Shaka Utmost.
Yeah, I heard you calling me, but you know, I had to make a quick bathroom run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I mean, I figured that. That's why I didn't start beating you up. I was just like, here you go again. He left me alone. And what I was saying to your audience, Sa, is that I'm the kind of person I feed off of live response, right? So that anytime I do a guest appearance and I'm on the platform, the host is always there with me throughout. It's a conversation that people can see us having, and they can see your reaction to the things that I'm saying, because people do that. People feed off of other people's reactions, right? So when you're not present, especially with what I just said a moment ago, right? You said yourself, I said, when I raised the question, what would make somebody think that there was no connection between Kemet and Africa? You said, that's a great question, right? And then I led into an even greater question that came out of that, but you weren't here to respond. So I'm gonna draw that analogy again so that people can see your reaction to it when I say it. When you take European kingdoms, right? If you look at whether it's the Habsburg, whether it's the Holy Roman Empire, whatever it is, whichever one you want to name, the Louis, whatever, the King Charles, all of them, right? The Henrys. When you take the Carolingians, right? When you take all of these different monarchies and kingdoms, governorates, whatever you want to call them, when you take all of these polities, nobody ever says, oh, well, nobody ever asked the question, well, what side of the continent was King James from? Does anybody ever ask that? No. Your mic is dead. We couldn't hear you. Sorry, your mic was dead.
no, nobody never asked that.
Right. Nobody ever asked, well, what side of the continent is King James from? Right? Nobody ever asked, well, what side of the continent of Europe is Charles V from? Or what side of the continent? And it really doesn't matter because for the most part, in many respects, most of these families, because of the way they moved, they were so intermarried that, you know, at the you didn't know which particular lineage was sitting on the throne. If you draw family trees and you look at all of these divisions, they cross like riverines, right? And so
yeah, and one more thing, I'm sorry to cut you off. I forgot to tell you that is no profanity too. No profanity on the channel. Go ahead, continue, brother.
Okay. Did I use profanity just now?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, cool. You just freaked out when I said coochie, so I'm pretty sure that profanity would be out of the question, right? So, thank you for the redundancy, but I appreciate it. So, the point I'm making is that nobody ever bothered to ask, well, what side of the continent of Europe that these particular people come from, so that we can say that they are or are not related to these people from the other side of the continent. We don't do that. We only do that with black people. We only do that with Africa. Why do we do that with Africa? We do that with Africa because of the oldest trick in the book, or the oldest strategy.
That's a good point you made, man. That's a hell of a good point.
That's my point. We only do that with Africa. Oh, well, these people are located over here.
Yeah, we say, what part of Africa are you from? What part of this you from? What part? You're right. That's a good point.
Nobody does that with Europe.
Yeah.
They don't do that with Europe, right? As divided as Europe is, as ethnically diverse as Europe is, right? We could talk about Europe being ethnically diverse without it being racially diverse. But when it comes to Africa and the study and the connection between Kemet and West Africa, or any other parts of Africa, it doesn't have to be just West Africa, right? It could be Southern Eastern Africa, or South Kemet and any other parts of Africa, or Northwestern Africa, or Central Africa, right? When it comes to Kemet, all of a sudden, Kemet has to be reserved for some foreign, non-black, non-African people. So that's the real question. It's not whether or not if it was related to West Africa or not. I mean, we're going to look at that. But that's not the real question. The real question is, why are you trying to rope off Egypt and circumscribe it for some foreign creation? You understand? For some non-African, non-black creation. And then you want to make these false distinctions between Africans north of the Sahara, which is really what it is. We need to start speaking. We need to start instituting our cardinal truths. And one of our cardinal truths is that what white people call sub-Saharan Africa is actually North Saharan Africa. Okay, they flipped upside down the map. Egypt is actually sub-Saharan Africa, if you want to be technical about it. Okay, Egypt is at the bottom of Africa. Kemet, it was like the toilet bowl of Africa, out of which everything else flushed out into the world. Okay, so let's be honest about it. It's a toilet bowl that we're proud of, right? We're proud of that toilet bowl, right? It's almost like having a toilet bowl made of gold and diamonds, but it's still our toilet bowl. If you turn the map right side up, Egypt is sub-Saharan Africa. Algiers, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, all of that is sub-Saharan Africa when you turn the map right side up. So we need to get our cardinal points straight. Let's start with that. Now, for the remainder of the discussion, we will turn the map upside down again so that we can speak in conventional parlance. So when we speak about Africa below the Sahara, right, you know exactly what I'm talking about, which would be modern day Central Africa, the Sahel region, Central West Africa, right, or just West Africa, Equatorial West Africa. People just say West Africa without even defining which part of West Africa they're talking about, right? It's like there are different parts of West Africa. You have Equatorial West Africa. You have Southwestern West Africa. You have Northwestern West Africa. And black people occupied all of it. All of it, from the north to the south. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to put in context. But the main thing, again, that I wanted to put in context is, why is there this question of any connection between Kemet and West Africa? The reason for that disconnect in the European narrative, right? And we can't even call it the Arab narrative, because the Arabs did not create that narrative, right? They inherited and benefited from that narrative, but they didn't create it. The people who created that narrative, that there was no connection between Kemet and West Africa or any other part of Africa, the people who created that narrative were the last people to discover Kemet, Europeans, right? These are the last people to discover Kemet. they were the ones who created that narrative, this mythology of this of these separated entities in Africa. They wanted to make Africa seem like it was full of disparate, isolated pockets, right? To give you an idea of some kind of wasteland, some kind of impoverished wasteland where people are marginalized, right? But here's the crazy part about it. When you think about it, they say that the people in sub-Saharan Africa or Africa below the Sahara, there was no connection between them and Egypt because the Sahara desert was too big. That's what they say. Well, here's my question, and nobody ever bothers to ask. If the Sahara if the Sahara desert was too big, sa.neter, I have a question I have to ask you. How did Jews in the first and second century CE, there were no cars, no trucks. How did Jews start the trans-Saharan trade? If there was a trans-Saharan trade that went from Timbuktu in West Africa and Mali all the way up to Egypt, and the Jews manned that trade until the Arabs took it over, how come they were able to navigate the Sahara? Is it because they're special? Your mic is dead. I don't know why your mic is dead. Nobody heard that, no.
Oh, no, that's only because I have like a TV in the background.
Let's turn the TV off, man. We doing
No, I can't turn it off. Somebody watching it. Somebody watching it, man. I can't do all that. But no, I said no. They're not special. It was not special.
Right. So it's like common sense shit like this. Excuse me. Common sense stuff like that. Right? Common sense stuff like that. That people don't bring up. So how are you standing there saying that African people were unable to interact between Egypt and West Africa because the Sahara was so big, but first century Jews were able to come in and run the trans-Saharan trade from Mali in West Africa all the way up to Egypt? Make it make sense. The Jews had a special Moses flying carpet that they could go back and forth across the Sahara, but Africans were too stupid. Africans had no adventure, they had no trade, they had no nothing, it's stupid.
Well, Shaka, there's now an Israelite in the Israelite community now teaching that the pyramids were built by aliens. This is an Israelite brother that's teaching now that the pyramids were built by aliens.
All right, so here's my thing though. We have higher standards, so we don't discuss stupid stuff like that, right? This is not Israelite kindergarten stupidity school. This is African historical literate time. So we don't discuss stupid Joe Rogan theories like that, okay, on this platform. Maybe you do, but I'm not going to discuss stupid stuff like that. So again,
okay.
I'm back to the point I'm making. The point I'm making is their claim does not stand on its face nor on any merit, because you have to be able to explain how a trans-Saharan trade took place before there were cars, trucks, and those things, right? You have to be able to explain it because they had no technology that was different than the Africans.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to find another reason and another motive to say that there was no connection between West Africa and North Africa, right? You have to, right? In fact, I wasn't even going to show this, but I'm glad you said that. Let's look at that. I'm going to bring this up. I wasn't even going to use this, but since we're talking about it, let's look at that. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to open up a presentation that I did not have ready, but it only takes 2 seconds to grab it, right? So I'm here. I'm going to come here because, white people say things and black people don't question them intelligently. We don't. We just let them say whatever they want to say. And I don't know, we avoid it. I don't know what we do, but I think it's very strange. To me, I think it's very strange. Okay, hold on. Is it that one? Because I know I have two. It might be this one. Yeah. Here we go. We're going to look at this. I know sa.neter going to see this and be like, oh. Here we go. Oh, no, I don't want the PDF. Oh, come on. Close that. I don't want the PDF. I want the PowerPoint. Here we go. All right. Okay. Here we go. Ghetto platform. Here we go. Okay. In fact, oh, this is another one. Negro land. Okay. Let me see. Hey, so I'm going to show you something. I just want to give you an idea of the kind of stupid things that people say and do, right? So yep. I'm gonna share my screen, right? Share screen, entire screen. Okay, allow. Hold on. All right, Sa, can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So a lot of these, since you wanted to bring up Israelites, a lot of these ignorant Israelites, they bring up the fact that a certain part of West Africa was referred to as Negro land. You ever heard them say that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. They love to show that, right? But you know what they don't tell you? They don't tell you anything about the idiot that made the map. You ever notice that?
Right. Yeah.
They never give you the history of the map. When was it made and who made it? Because once you see what that is, you're going to realize that I just wanted to show you that. You're going to realize that there's really nothing there to talk about, right? So hold on one second. I just want to show you. I want to show you this community in the Sahara that was, in fact, here we go. No, hold on. Here we go. Twat. Right. Hold on. Right. Here we go. Right. Excellent. Okay. Right. So watch this. Let's first just deal with, I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. Share screen. All right. Entire screen. Allow. All right. Sa, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, this is Egypt up here, right? Or Kemet, right? This is Mali over here, right? You have Egypt and you have Mali, okay? Hello?
Yeah, yes, I'm looking. I'm here.
Okay, when I ask, all right, response, call and response.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm looking at it.
That's cool. We've been doing this long enough. You should know me by now. Shaka asks a question. He's looking for a response. Okay, it lets me know if I can keep moving. Okay, so that's Egypt. That's Kemet. That's Mali. Excuse me. That's Mali over here. Now, I want to talk about a place called Twat, right? Twat is all the way up here in North Africa, in the Sahara. Okay, it's actually this whole region up here was the Twat region. Okay, it's a vast oasis region in southwestern Algeria. It is dotted by a dozen agglomerations of fortified hamlets, which are still inhabited. Although the original residents were Zenata Berbers, most of the present population is Arabic speaking. Medieval Arab historians such as Ibn Khaldun make occasional mention of the Twat, but seem to know very little about it. The 14th century Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta passed through in 1353, but gives few details. According to traditions mentioned by later Arab historians, are you listening to this? This part right here, this is important.
I'm listening right here.
All right. So later on, you can't say, I didn't say this. Oh, Shaka, you never said that. I never heard that. And I'm like, no, it's because you don't pay attention. You're the worst student in the classroom. Watch. Jews arrived in the region at the beginning of the Common Era. That means 1st century CE. At the beginning of the Common Era, Jews arrived in North Africa. At the top, in what they call it? An oasis. Hold on, where is it? I want to get the correct term that they used. Right here. It's an oasis region in southwestern Algeria. Okay? And Jews got there in the 1st century of the Common Era. The Arabs add that in the year 570, this is 6th century, known as the Year of the Elephant in Arabic historiography, an influx of Jews built, this is the 6th century, built the curved fortified hamlet of Tamentit, right, the principal settlement in the region, and made it into an autonomous enclave to which Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. So if Muslims were only admitted as foreigners in this Jewish enclave in the Sahara in North Africa in the 6th century, right, what does that tell you? It tells you that Jews were running the whole area because Muslims were only admitted as foreigners. A letter sent by Marrakesh merchant named Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Tuatito, a correspondent in Fustat dated 12th and 13th century and preserved in the Cairo Geniza, is another piece of evidence for a Jewish presence in Tuat in the Middle Ages. The Jews of Tuat, now listen to this, the Jews of Tuat engaged in agriculture using a highly developed system of fogatas, underground water conduits. Who do you think showed them where what underground water conduits were? They were also active. Are you listening to this? In the Are you listening to this, sa.neter?
I'm right here, brother. I hear every word you're saying.
Jews were also active in the trans-Saharan caravan trade, and the region prospered, becoming so important a hub for the gold, slave, and salt trades that Tamentit was mentioned in the Majorca atlases and maps as early as the 14th century. Now, here's the thing. These people had the same technology in the 14th century, the Middle Ages, right? 8th, 9th, 10th century, and the 1st century CE. It was the same technology that the Africans were using during the Bronze Age. There was no different form of travel. So how come you got Jews who have a trans-Saharan trade all through the Saharan, but the Africans, the black Africans who've been there since forever, they want to tell you that they were stuck over here and couldn't get to Egypt because of the Sahara. But you get Jews that come from another land and all of a sudden they got a trans-Saharan trade. Does that make sense to you?
Hell no, that don't make sense.
Of course not. It don't make no sense. So the story is stupid. The whole story is stupid. Jews arrived at the region at the beginning of the Common Era. So the whole story about black people in West Africa being stuck on the side of the Sahara because they couldn't make it to Egypt because of the Sahara is stupid. When you got Jews, they got a whole freaking trade. That's not profanity. You got Jews that got a whole freaking trade throughout the Sahara, and it's documented. It's documented. So I just wanted to show that part, that their whole thing is stupid. So now let's get to your question, right? This is probably what I mentioned to you before. sa.neter, can you see this?
Yes. What is my question?
Your question was, original question was the connection between the migrations from Egypt.
Okay, I got you. Just want to make sure you know. Go ahead.
Right. Right. So with respect to the migrations from Egypt to, before I even go into that, let me just go back to why I started this conversation. When you get into that information, you can pull out a lot of information, but you have to be careful because a lot of the information, number one, is so-called outdated. But why is it outdated? It's outdated because the deeper you get, you're going to find that information about that is scarce. There's not a lot of it. But it's not by accident that there's not a lot of it. It's on purpose. I'm saying that wherever they did find evidence of these migrations of people from Kemet to Egypt into other parts of Africa, they destroyed that evidence. They usually destroyed it through two ways: through water, building dams, or through fire, burning unearthed caches, right? So they destroyed that evidence. They destroyed that evidence to create the myth of an isolated Egypt. And this is part of the reason why when you go into the when you start looking into the literature and you start trying to find literature about African migration into West Africa, African migration to other parts, it's there, but there's not a lot of it. And a lot of it you have to piece together. It can be pieced together very well, whether you're talking about genetics, whether you're talking about whatever, cultural anthropology, all of it. Thank you, Smoke and Chill. I appreciate that. Right. But now we're going to look at some documentation. I just wanted to make that very clear that the reason that there's not a lot or an abundance of literature on that particular topic is because it's by design. The same way that they built the Aswan Dam and destroyed all of that history in Nubia. And that's another thing. Don't ever let people forget that all of the evidence, or not all of it, but a large reservoir of evidence that attest to the true African origins of Kemet are underneath the Aswan Lake Nasser, and which was created by the Aswan Dam. They did that as part of that isolation process to isolate Egypt, to make it seem as if Egypt had more to do with the Near East and Arab polities, right, than inner Africa. So they've been trying to cut off Egypt since forever. And in fact, if the modern state of Israel could take Egypt today, they would. In fact, they're trying to take parts of it now. So I appreciate that, Joseph, very much so. So now we're going to look at some documentation, because that's what we came to look at, and that's what I was asked to show. It's not a lot. Like I said, it's very little. The other part of it also is that, for the most part, is true. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's absolutely true. For the most part, as I said, there's not a lot of literature on the topic. And the other part of it is, and I have to say this, sa.neter just contacted me last night and asked me to do this today. So it wasn't like I had a PowerPoint just sitting around waiting on this particular topic. I have hundreds of thousands of PowerPoints. I just didn't have one on this particular topic sitting around. So I
said, you being see, I know you, Shaka. You stay up damn near all night and sleep during the day a lot because you be up all night. And so I said, I got to give him a subject that challenges him, that make him go and dig up something, you know? And so that's why I came up with that topic, man.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. By you doing that's what caused me to come late, because instead of doing my shopping that I would normally do to put some food in here, because you need energy when your brain needs carbs. So, and I was unable to do that. So I knew that once I came on here, there's no telling how long I'd be on here. By the time we get off the store would be closed. So I was like, I got to go grab something. But before I did that, I just threw a quick something together. And remember, it's not even really the preponderance of literature that should answer this question for you. It's the quality of the literature, right? The quality of the literature should answer the question for you. So let's take a look at it. First, we're going to look at a supposition. And the reason I call it a supposition is that when Gadala wrote his book, Egyptian Exile, or Egypt in Exile, when he wrote that, part of the drawback of his book is he didn't provide sources. There's no bibliography. So we have to take him at face value and then do our research to see if what he said was true. So that's what we're going to look at right now. Let's see here. I'm going to present. Are you ready for me, Buck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to show this to the people. Right, here we go. Entire screen. And here we are. We should be sharing. Yes.
Yep, your screen is sharing.
Hold up. Where is my oh, here we go. Why the heck did it do that? Okay. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a second because, that's why. Hold on one second. My PowerPoint ended up on top of, oh gosh, this thing is being a pain in the neck. Hold on. All right. Okay, we're going to close this. I've got too many PowerPoints open. Okay, cool. No problem. All right, now we're good. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to present again. Here we go. Share screen. Share screen. Share entire. There we go. All right. So now I'm sharing my screen again. Okay. So All right. So, oh, darn it, man. This thing does that. Okay. So, what the heck? Oh, my God. I hate this machine. Okay. Are you with me, sir?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. We're reading. All right.
You can't see me above you?
No, not when I'm doing this. All I can see is just.
Yeah, I'm right above you.
All right, cool. All right, so this is from Exiled Egyptians, The Heart of Africa by Mustafa Gadala. He's a graduate of the University of Cairo, 1967, the year I was born. He's a graduate of engineering. And he's also an Egyptian national. So he's born and raised in Egypt. And in his book, this is what he says on page 128 in the second paragraph. He said, by combining oral traditions, ethno-history, and archaeological evidence, dating of minor settlements, tombs, mining activities, etc., one can see that the newcomers to West Africa begin from the Nile Valley and progressed westward along the Sahel region. Okay, westward, all right? They then progressed to the area of Lake Chad, Tashed, and the Jos Plateau. From there to the Niger River, and then toward the Senegal River. The movement was continuous and demonstrable. 2 major westerly migrations took place from the Nile Valley. Okay, so did you see that, Sa? Did you see that, sa.neter?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so now that I mean, being that you're the one that asked me the question, you should have some kind of reaction to it. But now that we've seen it, as I said, the problem with his book is that he doesn't provide any sources, which means that you have to go looking on your own to determine if what he said or not was accurate. So now we're going to look at, I prefer to go with what Shaka Utmost said, which I should have had it here. Shaka Utmost said that Egypt had always been black from like 50,000 years before present. This is before the migrations. I should have had that on the screen, but I didn't. I'll show it before we end it. But let's go to science. Okay. This is the Quaternary Science Reviews. Okay, it's a journal. The Quaternary is a scientific review journal. And if you go to directscience.com, you can see the article from the journal on that website. It's a very reputable website. It's good. It's peer reviewed, so on and so on. Or they use peer reviewed work. So this article is called "Did Increased Flooding During the African Humid Period Force Migration of Modern Humans from the Nile Valley?" Okay, I'm going to read it again. Did increased flooding during the African humid period force migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley? Right? Okay. This is a picture of the article. Did increased flooding during the African humid period force migration of modern humans from the Nile Valley? The Quaternary Science Reviews. You can get it yourself, people. You can read it, right? During the Quaternary period, the Eastern Sahara hydroclimate oscillated between wet and dry intervals. These oscillations caused drastic changes in precipitation rates, often associated with ancient human migrations. In particular, significant migration of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west.
Whoa! Uh-oh.
Okay? That's science. That's not Shaka Utmost.
Let me get my bombs ready, baby.
Okay?
Get my bombs ready.
I'm going to read that part again. It's important. These isolations cause drastic changes in precipitation rates, often associated with ancient human migrations. In particular, significant migration of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west.
Yes.
Monsoon intensification. So the first thing you have to accept, whether you like it or not, is we have scientific documentation that there were population migrations from the Nile Valley to the west of the continent. Period. You don't have to like it.
Right.
You don't have to go out and celebrate, but you don't have to like it.
Right.
But what you cannot say is that when people talk about a connection between the Nile Valley and the west of the continent, West Africa, you cannot say that there is no connection. You cannot say that there is no documentation. I just read it for you, unless you're illiterate and can't read. Okay? Now, monsoon intensification may have rendered the area inhospitable for human settlements, congruent with population migration out of the Nile Valley. So there were things going on in the Nile Valley that forced people to leave the Nile Valley and migrate to the west of the continent. And not only that, it's common sense. If we know where mankind began on the African continent, which is in East Africa, roughly around Tanzania and Kenya and Uganda, that area, and Ethiopia, that whole area there, the Ruwenzori mountain area, then we know that they started in the east. If they started in the east, they had to migrate to the west. So it's a stupid conversation to begin with, unless somebody is absolutely ignorant of the story of human origins. Human origins are not found in West Africa. sa.neter, have you ever heard of human origins in West Africa?
No.
No. So why even have the conversation? It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Okay. These findings highlight links between past human ecodynamics and environmental signals, providing a concrete narrative. You heard that? A concrete narrative of human population response. That's from the abstract. Okay? Now we're going to continue. From page 9 of the same report, the increase, this is a quote, the increase of mean annual precipitation and our estimates of intensity likely turned the Nile Valley into a hazardous place due to flood-related risk, driving people, are you ready, sa.neter?
Yes.
To migrate mainly to the west. That's what that is. Okay?
Hey.
And northwestwards for roughly 3,000 years. So you had a migration of people coming from the Nile Valley into the west of Africa for 3,000 years.
Huh. God damn, Shaka.
3,000 years.
The only one that can do this would be you, bro. Yep.
The conversation is stupid for people to talk about no connection between the Nile Valley and West Africa. It's stupid. Okay? Once the
Shaka.
Yes.
Sheikh Auntie Giap talked about how the Africans migrated from Africa into Europe.
Yes, he did.
Through the Ice Age. So if we say that you can do that, why you think the Egyptians can't do the migration up into West Africa? You see what I'm saying?
All right, absolutely. Crazy. Not, so it's stupid, and it doesn't even. You don't have to couch it like that. You don't have to say the Egyptians went into West Africa. What you have to say is that people from the Nile Valley, because the question is there a Nile Valley connection? Because Egypt was not this special thing as the North. There was no separation between Egypt and Tasseti or Ta-Nehisi or the Sudan, if you will, right? The pharaonic culture itself comes out of the Sudan and the Sahara. It's a complex. It's a composite culture, right? So the pharaonic culture, which starts in Upper Egypt, not Lower Egypt, not Lower Kemet. It starts in Upper Kemet, in Tamehu, right? Right? That's where it starts. So if that's where it starts in the South, you have to look at the cultures there, and the cultures there, those cultures are a convergence of cultures that came out of the Sahara and they came out of the Sudan. Those are just the facts. You don't have to like them, but those are facts. And there were also autochthonous people there as well. But the autochthonous people there were not as advanced as the Southerners and the Saharans who came in. The Southerners and the Saharans who came in, they came in with a culture already established. They were a superior culture. Okay? So it's almost like America, right? When you look at the Native Americans, the so-called Native Americans, right? When the Europeans came, they came with a technically superior culture. Technically, right? Just technically only. Why were they able to have that technically superior culture? Europeans came with a technically superior culture because they had inherited it from Africa by way of the fall of Eastern Rome. That's how their technology emerged as superior, if you will. And if you really want to look at it, it was also their relationship with China and gunpowder, right? But that was not their greatest weapon. Their greatest weapon was their diseases. Their diseases killed. That's how dirty Europe was. Wherever they went, people would drop like flies because of the diseases that Europeans would give off, right? That was their real germ warfare power. That was their real power. Not even the repeating rifle.
Let me ask you this question. This is a $10 question here.
Okay.
From our girl sister, Sakina Ra.
Right.
Ask what building was moved and reconstructed by the flood in the 1900s.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part. Say it again.
Ask what building was moved and reconstructed by the flood in the 1900s.
Asking me what building was moved and reconstructed?
Yes.
Oh,
in the 1900s.
What building where? What building where and what flood?
Yeah, I'm a little lost on that one too.
She's gonna have to narrow that question down a bit. That's all.
Yeah.
But while she does that, let me continue with this part.
Go ahead.
So it says again, increase of mean annual precipitation and our estimates of the intensity likely turn the Nile Valley into a hazardous place due to flood-related risk, driving people to migrate mainly to the west and northwesters for roughly 3,000 years. So for 3,000 years, there was a continuous migration of Black people from the Nile Valley into West Africa, into the west of the continent. You don't have to like it, but that's what the documentation says. Once the mean annual precipitation started to decline at circa 7,000 before present, which would put us at the beginning of the dynastic period of Kemet, the populations, are you ready, reoccupied the Nile Valley because of the Sahara's arid conditions. So that means that there was a back and forth, what we would call a contiguity, meaning that they would go to West Africa during certain periods, and then during other periods, they would come back, which makes sense for pastoral people. And these pastoral people were not barred from West Africa. All right? There was no imaginary wall or fence, not even the Sahara, because from large periods, the Sahara was not a desert. It was a savanna. It was a grassland. That was after its oceanic or riverine period, or actually its lake period, its Great Lake period, right? Which goes further back. You get into the whole Heyerdahl, not Heyerdahl, I forgot what it's called. It's a particular warming period, but I forget the name of it. Joe Rogan is always talking about it and messing up the topic. However, I just wanted you to see what the documentation says, That's very important. Now we're going to look at, I think, one or two more pieces, and that's really going to be.
You're talking about Abu Simbel, Shaka.
Oh, right. Okay. So that was not from a okay, so when she said flood, most people think of a flood as being the result of rain. The flood that she's talking about is the flood that I was referring to earlier when I said that they had flooded what they call Nubia today, Tasseti. They flooded Tasseti. They flooded that region. They flooded that region by creating the Aswan High Dam. That Aswan High Dam created Lake Nasser. It's one of the largest man-made lakes in the world. And underneath that lake lies all of the Nubian civilization, which gave birth to Kemet. So you would have seen, I mean, there's so much evidence. In fact, that's probably why they buried it. They buried it so that when tourists would come, tourists would not be able to go to that land and see where the true origins of Kemet came from. That's why they buried it underwater. It's the same thing that they did to black towns in America. After slavery, black people had many successful towns, not just Black Wall Street in Tulsa. They had other ones, and many of these other black towns ended up underwater. They created dams and lakes to drown this black success. That is the way that they always destroy black success. They do it by using fire or water. For most of the history, they used water, but at certain periods, they used fire. Okay, somebody should write a book called Water and Fire, The Destruction of Black Success. And they should include Egypt, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other places, because it's the same pattern with our enemies. Our enemies, you should call them what they are. They are our enemies, historically speaking and traditionally speaking. And they know that, right? So our enemies, historically speaking, have drowned the evidences of our success. They put it underwater. And that's what they did with Tasseti or Nubia, right? That region, right? That they call Nubia. And in fact, when you see the old footage, which I have, when you see the old footage of what was there, of the buildings that were there, the homes, when you see what those homes look like, you can tell that it's the origin of where Kemet came from. It's very rare that you will see that footage, but I have it. It's on video because they filmed it because they knew that they were going to destroy that region with the lake. So they took images, they took film. I have some of that film, and when you see those Nubian villages, it's incredible. It's unbelievable. It looks exactly like what would have given birth to Kemet, right? So with respect to that though, they had to carve up major temples that were in Nubia, and they moved those temples further to the north to be in what we call Egypt proper today. That would be Philae, right? The temple at Philae, and also the Abu Simbel temple, just to name two temples, because there were other ones that got moved as well. But all of these temples, or many of these major temples that you see in Egypt today, originally they were not in Egypt proper. They were in Nubia.
All right, all right.
They actually were Tasseti.
All right, moving on to the next question. This is a $5 question. Divine Kingship of Ghana in Ancient Egypt by Eva Meyerowitz. Is that pseudo or the Yoruba Egyptian claim?
I don't know the text, so I can't speak to it. I don't know.
Okay, that's the best answer. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the best answer.
Right. And Sal, before we get to the next question, let me just read this last two.
Go ahead. Ain't no more questions right now, but go ahead.
All right, cool. These are the last two. This is from a text called A Comparative Study of Early African States, the Nile Valley and the Western Sudan. What is the Western Sudan? That's Mali, Ghana, Shanghai. Okay? Particularly Ghana and Mali, ancient Ghana, not modern Ghana. Ancient Ghana and Mali That's the Western Sudan. So here it says a comparative study of early African states, the Nile Valley and the Western Sudan. The author is John O. Hunwick, published in the Journal of African History. Look at what the summary says. This article examines socio-economic parallels between early cultures of the Nile Valley and those in the Western Sudan, suggesting possible migratory links and cultural exchanges between these regions. So that's more documentation that destroys what people are trying to postulate. Right? Here you have another one. Though Sudan was not a major source of captives. Oh, you're going to like this one. This is from ChatGPT. Though Sudan was not a major source of captives for the Americas, some Sudanese and Nilotic peoples. You heard that?
Yep.
Nilotic. That means from the Nile. Some Sudanese and Nilotic peoples were funneled into Atlantic trade routes via West African.
Woo, what the
end of discussion. I'll read it again for the stupid people in the back. Though Sudan was not a major source of captives for the Americas, you know what that means then? That means that that the Sudan was a source of captives for the Americas. It just was not a major one, but it was still a source. All right. Some Sudanese and Nilotic peoples were funneled into Atlantic trade routes via West African coastal networks. End of discussion.
Come on, Cube. Come on, Cube. Come on, Cube. Get on board with this, brother. Scholarship at its finest right here. Scholarship at its best right here, boy.
In the end of discussion, right? That's why I say I don't have that discussion with people anymore. Dr. Clark used to say, the more you deny, the more you tell me what you haven't read and what research you haven't done. So if you haven't done the research, I just did it for you. You've seen it. You can quote it. You can look at the titles, right? You can look at the titles. The very last one, which came from ChatGPT itself, you can ask me for that and I'll send it to you. I'll just send it to you. I'll show you the original. I'll show you. I'll go into my ChatGPT to show you. I'll show you the question that I asked and what it came back with. I didn't ask it a trick question. I asked a very simple question.
Right.
And the question that I asked ChatGPT was, were any of the slaves in the transatlantic slave trades sourced from the Sudan? That's simple. And that was the answer it came back with. It said, though the Sudan was not a major source, that the Sudanese and Nilotic slaves or people were funneled into the West African trade through West African coastal markets. So, yes, what that means is that there are those of us of African ancestry in America who have Nilotic blood from the Nile. Yes, from the Nile region. Sorry, you don't have to like it. That's what the documentation says. You want to try to shove us into this little area in West Africa, forgetting that most of the slaves did not come from West Africa. Most of the slaves, most of them went into the traders and the traffickers went 1,000 miles into the coast, into the center, towards the Sudan to get slaves. The West African nations were the ones, they were more like middlemen. They were acting more like middlemen between the Europeans on the coast and the slaves that they were getting from the Hinter region. It's called the Hinter region for a reason, because it's not on the coast. So all of these stupid white people and stupid black people that think that people of African descent naturally come from West Africa, that's like saying, sa.neter. That's like if somebody, it's like if you meet somebody at the airport and they think you come from the airport because that's where they first found you. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It really is, you know. So, the reality of it is that the people, in fact, hold on, let me see if I can find. I closed it earlier. Let me see if I can still find it. Hold on one second. What is it called? Geography dot name. Let me see if I can find this because I'm going to show you something. Regional sources. Uh-oh. Oops. I fucked up. I think I messed up. Okay, no, I'm still here. I thought I moved you. I thought I closed my StreamYard. Okay, I'm glad I didn't. All right, hold on, let me see. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find that again. Go in here. Where was it? Hold on. That's all right. I know where to find what I'm looking for. Okay. I'm just looking for a map because there's something that I want to show you. Okay. Regions of origin. Okay, look at this is center, right? That's Igbo land, center. Okay. No. Because they always draw these fake demarcations as far as where the slaves actually came from. Genetics of consequence, coastal Nigerian. I don't care. All right. Here we go. Central interior, eastern Savannah. Oh, this is good. I like this. Redefining. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go find it so you can see this. This is www.geography. Geography.name. Oh, I got it. Wonderful. Slavery. Okay, this should be it right here. Yes. Okay. 1,000 miles. Here we go. F miles. Here we go. Watch this. I'm going to share my screen. All right.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to close this. Okay. Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put that in the chat. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to give you this. Hey, where's Smash at?
I was just calling him. I don't think he back in yet. He said he was to be back.
Okay. So if anyone's asking, let's see. Subscribers only mode?
I was just texting him, telling him he's up. So
okay. Here we go. All right, subscribers only mode. I'm subscribed to you. Here we go. Subscribers only mode. I subscribe. What are you talking about?
Pay when you're 3 fans. Yes.
Oops, my bad. Okay. All right, no big deal. I was trying to put something in your chat, but it won't let me interact with your chat. That's crazy. Why your joint won't let me interact with your chat?
I guess you got to probably be a mod. Hey, do you want me to open up for questions while we wait on Smash?
No, not yet. Hold on 1 second. I just want to show you one thing. All right. Let me see.
Eugene, you got to come out the dark, bro. Can't be in the dark.
Hey, I just sent you a text. Take a look at it.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, because your people's got to do better, bro. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to close that. And this is still open. And now here. Okay, so now I'm going to share my, Present. Okay. Share screen. Share screen. And allow. I'm just going to prove this point to you. All
Yo,
right.
yes, it's on you. Ready? You ready?
Sa, you ready? Hello? I got left standing up again as usual. Sa, let me know when you're back. All right. Sa, just let me know when you're back. As soon as you're back, I'll carry on.
I'm back, Shaka.
Okay, wonderful.
Smash.
All right, wonderful. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something so you can, I want to give you a few myths to put to bed. So this is from geography.name. It's a good site because the research is very good. It deals with everything about geography. It's not a black site. It's not an Afrocentric site or anything like that. It just deals strictly with geography. If you go to the section on slave trade and you go down to where it says Central Africa, this is important because they like to tell people that the slaves came from the coast of Africa. The latter ones may have, because the people who were acting as middlemen, they ended up getting enslaved themselves. That's what the film Woman King was about, right? But listen, as the demand for slaves grew, some groups of Central Africans, we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade, right?
Right.
So we already got Sudanese and Nilotic people being funneled into the transatlantic slave trade. But I want to show you this from Central Africa. And this is very important because it's the area where the Sudan and Central Africa meet that that many of the slaves came from. People don't understand how deep into the continent they were going to get slaves. They were going to get people to enslave, right? So listen to this. It says here, hold on. Oh, right here. As the demand for, let me make it bigger so your people can see it. All right. As the demand for slaves grew, some groups of Central Africans became more deeply involved in the trade. So now we're talking about Central Africa, not West Africa. For those of you who are cardinal pointed challenged, for those of you who are disoriented and don't know East, West from South from Central, we're not talking about West Africa anymore, right? We're talking about Central Africa, right? It said some groups of Central Africans became more deeply involved in the trade, opening new territories in the interior as sources of slaves. Do you see that, sa.neter?
I see it, brother. I see it.
Okay. I want your audience to see that. Stop with the "we come from West Africa" BS. Some of us do, many of us do not. Many of us come from the inner part of the heart of the continent. As far as the Sudan, warlords led raids into the population centers of these territories and sent caravans of captives back to the coast. So if you don't come from West Africa and you had to be sent there by caravans, why do you keep thinking you're West African? Because you're stupid and somebody told you a story and you didn't bother to do any research. That's why. I hate to insult people, but it's the truth. The slaves did not come from West Africa. Some of them did, but a vast
I'm going to ask you to lighten up on the insults a little bit.
Okay.
And the only reason why is because they're going to support you, brother. These the ones that are going to support you, brother.
First of all, those who support me know where I'm coming from. They know what I mean, right? When I say that, that's the reason why I'm doing a presentation on Black intelligence coming up. And the reality of it is that look, let's be honest. We were made stupid. We were made stupid by design. It was a conspiracy to make us stupid, and it worked. I'm doing a whole presentation on it if you want to check it out.
Yes.
Stop being insulted by the truth. If somebody tell you you're stupid, it's because they're telling you the truth. Right? You want to get unstupid? Do some research. Listen to the right people. Watch people who actually do research so that you can do your own. But I'm showing you here, warlords led raids into population centers of these territories and sent caravans of captives back to the coast. So you got to remember, and everybody knows, most of the slaves had to travel for 3 months to get to the coast of West Africa. How you going to travel 3 months from a place that you're to a place that you're from? Sa.neter.
Damn.
That was funny. Right? So I got to get that damn. That's a really good one. But that's the truth. If you got to travel 3 months to get to the coast of West Africa, that means you're not from West Africa. The slave trade eventually included enslaved Africans from regions as distant as the center of the continent, 900 miles from the coast. So what are you talking about all this West African stuff for? You sound stupid. And I'm not going to watch
right now, Shaka. This has never been said before, brother.
It sounds stupid. You sound like you don't bother to do any research.
Make us up, brother.
People said they literally don't bother to do any research. Oh, that's why when I listen to these white people or other people talk about West Africa, that's why I don't even bother to do all this connection with Egypt and West Africa. For what? We don't come from West Africa. We were brought to West Africa to be sold as slaves. That's not. Do you know the difference between brought to and comes from? Brought
so
to.
Here's the question, bro.
Yes.
Where were we brought from? To West Africa. I mean, to Ghana.
We were brought from what's called the hinterland, the inner part, the inner regions, Central Africa.
Okay.
But what you have to understand is when you deal with Central Africa, you have to understand that that Central Africa is not just the center. It comprises also parts of Sudan, parts of Niger, right? All of those different regions qualify as Central Africa, right? Central Africa is large. The Congo, right?
Let me ask you, is the doors of no return in Ghana?
It's in the western region. I'm not sure if that's Ghana.
I think it's in Ghana. So what you're saying is,
that would be a place like Cape Coast. Right?
Oh yes, that's right. Right over there, that area.
Goree Island, all of that.
Yes, you're right. And so that's where we came through that.
We came through that.
And yes, we came through there. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we came through that. Right.
Okay.
Like many of us today, we all in New York. Are we from New York? No. My great grandparents ain't from New York. They never saw New York. My great grandparents never saw New York.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My grandparents came to New York in the 30s. My mother wasn't even born in New York. My mother was born in South Carolina. My father wasn't born in New York. My father was born in Louisiana.
All right, let's get these questions up because I ain't gonna be up long. I ain't gonna be up all night. You ready?
Cool. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Nash just hit me up and told me that he watched your presentation. He said fire. He said it was fire, and he's not ready to come on tonight. He said he's gonna do his tomorrow, part 2. He said, man, I gotta go get some research. Shaka killed it. So he don't want to come up and look crazy from yours. So he got to go do his own thing and get up here.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. The only reason it looked as good as it looked is because I knew Smash was going to be on here. And I was like, oh, no, I got to come correct. I am not stupid. Okay. Right. In fact, I said, I hope I go first. I said, because what I'm going to present, Smash probably got already. So I said, let me go first.
Yeah. All right. Let me let y'all know. Please be respectful. I'm going to let everyone know now. If Shaka tell me that's it, get rid of him, I got to remove you. So let's have a respectful conversation or a question and answer. King J is on you, brother.
Peace. Peace to the panel. Peace to Shaka.
I'm honored to be here with you.
Brother, I was just going to say it's even an honor to ask you this question. Definitely been watching you all my life.
All your life?
Not all my life. That was just being a little, but a long time on sa.neter, and I definitely wanted to, I respect you. So please believe I took some effort in my question.
Wonderful.
I took notes. My question is in regards to the time period in which you're referring to initially, the African Humid period, the AHP.
Right. Okay.
I'm giving you the dates of 11,000 BC to about 5,000 BC for that time period.
Right.
That is the time period where, and we talk about it with Uncle a lot of the time, the Green Sahara.
Yeah.
So before this period, right?
Right. The Hollow
It's
Sea.
it's when West Africa was habitable, and the Nile Delta was not. It would have been the desert, and life would have been in West Africa before the AHP.
No, during the AHP, the Sahara is deeply inhabited. During the AHP, it's what you call a lacustrine river. It's called a lacustrine riverine civilization. So you have rivers, you have marine life in great number.
Can we say aqualithic? The aqualithic period.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And but what's really important about that period is that it lends itself to what do you call pasture?
Transitional. It's a transitional period. So they go from hunter gatherer to pastoralism from nomad to
pastoralism. That's the term I was looking for. Pastoralism. Right? So I haven't eaten, so my brain is kind of shut down a bit.
I'm following
you. So and thank you, and also enabling me. I appreciate that.
Okay.
So and it's in fact the artwork at places like Sicily and other rock paintings reflect that area and that period.
In Libya, though, right?
And not only that, but it's also, and this is key, it's also a techno complex during that period. So much of the aesthetics of what we would call the tech aspect that ends up in Kemet later on, you see the presence of that in those rock paintings. You see the presence of the things that they're doing, how they're spending their time, how they are dealing with animal husbandry and things of that nature. You see it, right? What ends up happening is that this desertification, and in fact, what people don't realize is the thing that causes desertification is pastoralism in and of itself. That's what causes it, right? And a lot of it has to do with the droppings left behind from the animals. A lot of it has to do with that, right? So in any event, what ends up happening is that for those 3,000 years of migrations that they referenced in the article, during that period, there was a constant leaving the Nile Valley and the Sahara, right? Going to the west, right?
Okay.
Going to the west. It doesn't start in the west, right? It doesn't start in the west. It's all throughout the Sahara, the west included. So you're talking about a contiguous civilization from the west of, as they say, from the Atlantic to the Nile. From the Atlantic to the Nile, there's a contiguous civilization in the Sahara. Because of the climatic changes and the changes in the geography, or not the geography, but in the geology, if you will, of the land, right? The ecosystem, right? The eco changes that take place cause these pattern noted migrations, and they are what's the word I'm looking for? They're repetitive.
Because
they leave, they come back. They leave, they come back. So there's a continuation of back migrations. There's a continuation of back migrations. At some point, and the most important part I think that should concern us is when you spoke about that 11,500 period to about roughly 5,500, is that we have to keep in mind that what ends up becoming pharaonic civilization in Kemet starts long before that 5,500 period. So you have to go back into the pre-dynastic period, whether even prior to Nakada 1, Nakada 2, Nakada 3, Nakada 4, prior to that period, if you want to talk about a quote-unquote Gerzaean and Badarian period, you could talk about that. I think it's inconsequential because the culture is not really there yet. It's still seated in the Sudan at that period. So because the Sudanic period that gives rise to the pharaonic culture, you got to go back 7,000 BCE for that. Right?
I
so
agree.
you have to tie those numbers into that migratory period.
Just to build on to where we are in a time period, I would say even that the first culture who inhabited the Nile Delta would have probably been the Merimde culture, and it would have probably been from.
The Merimde is there, but the Merimde is not an impactful culture. Merimde, there's nothing pharaonic about it.
But they're the traders, right? The Merimde culture would be the traders, I would say.
I don't know if I'd call them traders. I wouldn't. No, because they seem to be. In fact, there seems to be something very localized about them. Everything that we know about them pretty much comes from the essence of their locality. That's what screams Merimde. When you look at the Merimde culture, everything is locality, like right there. It's situated. You don't get this. You don't get this coarse fertilization of culture that would come from products going to forth and fro. In fact, you don't get that really in that region. No, not even. You're too far in the north. I don't know why you're so stuck in the north.
All right. Shaka, we got.
Hold on 1 second. King J, I'm curious why you are so northern centered when it comes to that, because all of the documented evidence points to Upper Kemet, Tashemu. Tasheme. Right. It points to Tashemu as being
pharaonic,
the loci. And so the three that you really need to look at, you need to look at the Confederacy. You need to look at the Confederacy between
Nekin and Nakada.
Right. And the last one.
All right. That's it. We got to move on, Shaka. We got a full house here.
Go ahead. Oh, thank you, King J. I appreciate you very much.
All right. We up to my man. We up to my brother. Suntan is in the building. Suntan, you got the floor.
To my main man, Shaka. Hey, Shaka, you don't know how much you influenced me, brother. I just do this, and I got a couple of questions for you. Would you agree with me in saying that? And I'm gonna go back a little bit. You know, this chronology. Was the Bering Straits the cause of the European?
Not at all.
You say not at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because there are only two things that can come about via the Bering Straits. One, they're coming into North America, or they're going in of course Alaska into Russia, which would put them primarily in Eurasia. And now it gets a little interesting with that question, because if you want to talk about a Eurasian origin for the European, then then the Bering Straits does become interesting. It's just that I've never come across any evidence that suggests that that connection. Maybe it's one that I should look at that I've never considered before. And in fact, to me, it is interesting. I never even thought about that. It makes sense. Right. So at first, when you first asked it, I was like, yeah, he's way off. But now that I think about it, I'm like, that's pretty good. Yeah. Where'd you come up with that?
Well, like I'm a deep thinker, man, and I deal with chronology, right? And I listen to you a whole lot. You just more than you could know. So, and your topics and your premise is factual, but also it's like nothing that a great scholar would come up with. You come up with primary evidence, and
it has to be.
You present it as that. You don't come all off the wall. So that's what made me another follower of you.
Wonderful.
And when I say follow of you, I just listen to, because you're very
light versus light. Like, it takes one to know one. Absolutely.
Okay. And my second question is, and you know, this nothing against Unc, because Unc, my man, we close, right? But I wanted to ask you this question when he used this terminology that you know, that the blacks wasn't that black is a code word for black people and all of this sort of thing. But Shaka, this is for me to you. The black people, I don't care if they got the one touch rule, the one drip rule of blood or whatever. Right. Black Egyptians and Africans was everybody on this panel right here. Yes, would you say that?
100%.
Okay, and I said that to say this, you know, like I said, I ain't taking no shots at but he tries to divert it as if that they wasn't calling themselves black. But my thing is, don't matter what they call and what other people call, this what it is. See, I'm more primary like you are. So I'm not going to take it, drag it off. And I'll go back when I say crossing the Bering Strait, because if you believe in the out of Africa theory, which is factual, then that's when that change came about. And that's where, you know, we get our Europeans from, the crossing of the Bering Strait.
Okay. So the I'm thinking of the Mandeb, the Bab Mandeb El, the El Mandeb. I forget how to pronounce it, but when they talk about the out of Africa
theory
migration, they use two different exit routes. One exit route is across the Red Sea. The other one is up through Kemet, right? Out through the Sinai Peninsula, right? Those are the two exit routes that they take out of Africa. Because when you're talking about the Bering Straits, you're in a whole nother region, right? You're in a whole nother region. You're coming from Asia into what we call North America, or that nexus point between Asia, North America, and Eurasia, right? So, in fact, that's what they want to take right now because a lot of resources there. But when you're talking about out of Africa, the exit, and there are whole scientific studies on just these exits, and I mean these studies go deep. And King J, I have a feeling you know of them. I don't know why. Something in my mind is thinking he knows these exit articles, because those exit articles are hyper extensive. If you don't like to read, don't bother reading them, because you're going to be there all night long reading, because they really, 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 and you have to really pay attention, because you're going to have to do some mental gymnastics to be able to follow the different groups and gene flows that went out, came back in, went out, came back in, which created a significant admixture in Africa, especially in the eastern central region. But here's the thing. The thing is this. As far as Brother Ank's his
premise.
I don't even call them premises. I don't know what to, I call them flights of fancy. And the reason I call them flights of fancy is you talk to our brother in 1 month, you get one answer. You talk to him in another month, you get a different answer about the same subject matter. And to me, and it always seems to be about who he's running with or who he's around at that time. And I think one of his main influencers is what's that brother's name? The light-skinned brother.
Ngozi.
Ngozi, now there's another one.
Oh.
What's his name? Oh man, I can't remember his name. I don't. They have a Facebook group on Middlemen. He's a very light-skinned brother. He has
Ujaru.
Ujaru, thank you. Ujaru is a major influence on him, and when it comes to that subject matter. And while Ujaru is brilliant with respect to details, the one thing you will find about certain individuals, because of their own inner issues as far as their being color struck, because you have a lot of black people that are really, they're color struck about their own color.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
What they end up doing, especially a lot of light-skinned Africans, or black people, if you will, a lot of light-skinned people of African descent they do a lot of mental gymnastics with respect to their own phenotype. And what they do is they interject that turmoil into the historical narrative, right? They really do that. Like there was one period when Ujawu was running around trying to talk about how the people of Kemet looked at the people of Yam, Ta-Nehisi, the Nehisi, and he was trying to talk about how they drew them differently with respect to phenotype, and the reason that they looked down on them was from a racial perspective. Have you ever considered that the reason they looked down on them was not from a racial perspective, but from a class perspective? Because people differ for different reasons. You ridicule your enemy for different reasons. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for different reasons, you would draw them in a caricaturized way, not because you see them as a different race. That's you interjecting and projecting your own color struck issue that you have with yourself, maybe because you're light skin, you're high yellow or whatever, and you're trying to draw some distinction for Kemet that Kemet did not draw for itself. Like it's just Kemet.
All right, Shaka. We have a full panel. Try to keep your answers at a minimum, brother. Shaka,
Okay.
talking to Shaka Utmost.
I appreciate you, Elder Santan.
Moving right along.
Check me out on Facts Over Feelings. Shaka Utmost.
Moving right along. We got Neil. Neil is in the building. I'm going across as you came in. Neil.
Hotep Neil.
Hotep Shaka. I wanted to say you killed it tonight. Beautiful presentation. All the time. You always kill it. So anyway, but my question to you was, I kind of asked Dr. Winter this question too, but I didn't go in depth. Not super in depth. How I'm about to just ask you it. I'm understanding the West Africans have started to resurface the manuscripts of Great Timbuktu.
Yeah, that's old news. Yeah,
it's old news. So by them having it though, by the translation from Arabic to English, and just the historical accounts, not the records of, we had this amount of this or that, not those records, but historical records. Do you think it's more there about Mansa Musa than we know?
That's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. I would say possibly so, because one of the things that people don't realize about Timbuktu is that, this is going to be hard to say, a lot of people are going to be upset when I say this, is that number one, Timbuktu was not exactly as black as most people think it was. Number two, it was not as much of an indigenous creation as many people would like to think it was. A lot of it had to do with, actually, in the initial stages of its establishment, a lot of it had to do with grooming and absorbing the African leadership and economic centers into the world of Islam in order to plug into the wealth of that region and to eventually gain control. Yeah. And so what can be elucidated historically from those texts? You'd have to ask the people in California who have them.
Ooh, I'm here. I should find that. Help me find it.
If you there, ask the people in California who have them. I think they may be at UCLA or Santa Rosa, one of those places, Santa Cruz, one of those places. Okay. But and you know how amazing it is that they went silent on. That should tell you there's something in there. They went silent. They really went silent. I would say about 2 years after they were discovered, all of a sudden it became hush hush.
Yeah. Okay, so Shaka, I know you got a lot, because I know you got a lot of people to talk to. So I appreciate that answer. And the other one was this. I know you probably, like everybody else, waiting to see what those coils are under the pyramid. You heard about them?
Yes.
So, and the last statement I'm going to say, give us a word in sa.neter so I can stop seeing EL in front of sa.neter's name. How do we say elder in sa.neter?
Let's call them Saber.
Saber, that's what I'm gonna do. We taking that L off of there. We're gonna officially put Saber.
Yeah. You mean the elder, you mean? Elder sa.neter?
Yeah. How we say that?
Hold on. Let me give it to you right now. I'm gonna give you the official.
Yes.
Right. Oh, pull it up. Oh, hold on. This is blocking me. Hold on. I got too much on my desktop. Open up for me. Here we go. All right. Here it comes. Give me 2 seconds. And
really fine. Really,
okay.
the word fine.
All right. So the word you want is Yahoo.
Yahoo, sa.neter.
Yahoo, sa.neter. Yahoo. Yeah, that's it. And I'll spell it for you. The spelling is I-A-W. Capital A-W, because it's the phonetic symbol for I.
So so the I is small.
No, the I is small, and then you know the sound that makes the R sound that looks like a number 3. But when they transliterate it, it's transliterated as a capital A. So it would be Yahoo. Right. Yahoo is elder.
Yahoo, sa.neter, hotel.
All right, absolutely.
All right, go ahead, fam. Y'all next. Whoever next.
Right. Oh, and if you don't like Yahoo, you could also use Cheni. Cheni is T with the symbol underneath it, N-I. Cheni.
All right. Let me get on over to Cube. Cube, all I ask you to do, brother, is you could disagree strongly, but just be respectful to the brother. I want you to be able to stay in. Once Shaka say, I gotta let you go, brother. I said, Cube.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, man. And Shaka is that dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But I find it weird that I'm the only person that gets that talking to before I go.
I know how you get it in, bro.
Nah, it's cool. But check it out though. Yeah, peace to you, Shaka. All that, man. I appreciate the presentation. You know, definitely all of that. But now check this out though. In the source that you presented from ScienceDirect.com, you extracted a portion of the abstract that pointed out the instability of the climate, which caused the migrations. In short, we would call that the Quaternary period. Now, what you extracted was, and I quote, significant migration of riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west. Now, you cut it off right there.
I did.
You cut it off right there.
I did.
But when I looked at the source, it doesn't say the west part of the continent.
It doesn't. Let me ask you a question. Oh, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. It sounds like you were alluding to that it was talking about the west part of the continent, but when I actually looked at the source, and I quote, it says significant, and sa.neter dropped bombs, so sa.neter, I hope you're ready for this bomb to drop.
Okay.
It says, and I quote, significant migration of the riparian populations from the Nile Valley to the west. That's where he stopped. And then it goes on to say, in northwestward of the Sahara. So what I want to know is, how do you link those Saharan people with the sub-Saharan people, which we are?
How do I link the Saharan people with the sub-Saharan people? Well, here's the deal. If you for some reason, I don't seem to understand why okay, let me ask you, where does the Sahara end? In what country?
Brother,
I'm asking you a question. Where does
I hear you, but we the people paid you to come on here and teach, but now we're asking questions. So I just want to answer to that question if you can. And then I could
already see why sa.neter said what he said, because you asked me a question, and in order to answer your question, in order so that we could come to some ground of understanding, because there are other people listening and watching, you asked me a question. I'm asking you a question so we can meet at a middle ground to make some sense.
You know what? You're right.
At the end of the day, we want to make sense.
You're right about that.
So I'm asking you, where does the Sahara end? Where does it terminate? That's what I'm asking you.
You know what? You're 100% right. You're 100% right about that.
Right. So what is the southern boundary of the Sahara? That's what I'm asking.
Well, hold on. You're 100% right about that. But here's the thing. In order for us to have a conversation, you have to answer my question first, and then I can respond to your question.
Okay, so I want to know. Okay, I'm gonna answer your question if you will let me, my brother. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna do better than answer. I'm going to show you. Okay. So give me a second. I'm gonna present. I'm gonna share my screen. And entire screen. Allow. So now I am showing you. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, this says what? What does this say?
The Sahara Desert.
The Sahara Desert. Now, are people from Mali considered sub-Saharan African?
Brother,
It's a
continue with.
question.
Brother, can you
It's a question.
continue? Can you answer the question at least before you know?
I'm answering your question. I'm not just answering.
If you're
your
answering my
I'm
question, then why are you engaging in asking me questions?
Okay, so you don't want to. All right, so sa.neter, do me a favor.
Oh, okay, all right.
sa.neter,
Have a good night.
sa.neter,
Have a good night.
sa.neter, yeah, sa.neter, yeah, get rid of
Have a
him
good
because
night.
I only deal with people who make sense when we speak. All right, now listen, I'm showing the audience. All right, this is Mali, this is Niger, this is Chad, this is Sudan. The people of Sudan are considered sub-Saharan African. The people of Chad are considered sub-Saharan African. The people of Niger are considered sub-Saharan African. The people of Mali, which my family is from, I have in-laws in Mali, all right, are considered sub-Saharan Africa. In the lower part of Mauritania, they're considered sub-Saharan Africa. But it's all the Sahara. It's all in the Sahara. Unless you're telling me that the sub-Sahara is also included in the Sahara. So you're saying that all of this is this sub-Saharan thing is something white people made up. You can't even tell me where it begins or where it ends. This is my point. And the point is that most of these people who we would look at as sub-Saharan Africa, when you go to the United Nations, they're listed as North Africans. So the whole thing is a mythology. That's the point. That's the answer to your question. The whole concept of a sub-Saharan is not, number one, it's not an African concept. It's something Europeans made up. So when you talk about when you're talking about how am I connecting Saharan Africans to sub-Saharan Africans, there's no difference. They're the same people.
Hey, Uncle Sa, I'm gonna be real.
No, hold on, brother. I'm coming to you next. You're next. You finish up, Shaka. You finished?
Yeah, I'm finished with that. I'm gonna pull up something else to illustrate my point later on, but go ahead.
Okay, we're going to Super Wavy. Super Wavy, you got the floor, brother.
Hey, peace to the panel, peace to everybody. Shaka, man, I got one question. When we arguing people that look exactly like us, saying the ancient Egyptians was Asian or Caucasian, all this crazy stuff, we got the culture, you know what I'm saying? We could even bring pyramids, we could bring continuity from everywhere. But it seems like it's always an issue with the DNA. We can't find normal DNA. We can't find a lot of the pre-dynastic mummies DNA, a lot of the first couple dynasties DNA. Is it racism going on with the DNA of the early ancient Egyptians?
Is it racism going on from a DNA perspective?
As far as proving, like, you know how they always say the ancient Egyptians are the modern Egyptians, that they DNA exactly the same. Do you think that the lack of DNA of the early pharaohs, of the early kings of the dynasties, do you think it's got some, or is that just we blame that on lost bones or not having enough evidence? Do you think is racism tied into that?
I'll be honest with you. While there is always the presence of racism when you're dealing with that subject matter, that goes without saying. Racism is an automatic. But what's more important, at least from my perspective, is that people don't study. And because they don't study, they either they inadvertently promote falsehoods that are not reflected in the literature. So when you look at the literature on the genetic studies as concerns modern populations of Egypt, the literature does not say that they are the same as the native dynastic population. The literature does not say that, right? What the literature does talk about is an influx of admixture at certain periods. It certainly does. There was one by ScienceDirect.com. No, not by ScienceDirect.com, by Nature, the fake one that's been debunked for a long time, the one by Nature Communications out of Max Planck. anything that comes out of Max Planck in Germany, you should just probably disregard, because it's Max Planck is known for being a crappy scientific body, right? And that's why I think it was Christopher Ehret. I'm pretty sure it was Christopher Ehret who debunked that at Harvard. But when you look at the actual DNA studies, the ones that deal with the haplogroups, right, and the different clusters, they don't say that today's population is the same as in Egypt. They don't say that today's Egypt population is the same as the dynastic period. And the reason why they can't say that is that there is no homogeneous population in Egypt today. It's not like there's just one race in Egypt. Egypt is like New York. You have many different races. So how can you do that's like doing a genetic study on New York and saying oh, everybody in New York comes from this one people, or everybody in New York is related to the Native Americans that were originally there. Nobody would pay attention to a study that says that.
All right. Thank you.
Why would anybody pay attention to a study that says that the modern population of Egypt is the same as the native population, when the modern population of Egypt has Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Persians, Africans, and so many different people? So there's no genetic literature that says that. I can literally show you on the screen if you sa.neter was to give me a few minutes. I'll show you what the genetic literature says.
All right. Yeah, we'll go back to that. Let's get the brother Zoo. What up, Zoo?
I thought I was up next.
You went out. When y'all go out, y'all come back up in the end.
I'm gonna be real quick. Anyway, I just want to big up.
All the way back to the back, man.
I just want to big up the Sailor Shaka for coming on and doing this thing. I think he highlighted a very, very important point. You know, one of the big things is that it's like they try to isolate West Africans or sub-Saharans, period. So it's very important that we keep underlining these points of connection, and no matter the time period.
For sure. Let me see. Let me put this on here. Sa.neter, I would like to share my screen because I want to show something. All right. I'm sharing my screen. All right. Sa.neter, you got me? Okay, here we go.
Got you, brother.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
What do you see on my screen?
Africa Northern Region.
All right, thank you. Now watch this. I'm going to read this. This is from Wikipedia. All right. The United Nations definitions for the region's boundaries, and I hope that the other brother, I forgot his name, the one who's very aggressive unnecessarily.
Brother Q.
I hope Q was watching this. The United Nations definition for the region's boundaries for North Africa, we're defining North Africa, right? Includes Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Sudan, and Western Sahara. The territory disputed between Morocco and the partially recognized Sahrawi Republic. The African Union defines the region similarly, only differing from the UN in excluding Sudan. What does that mean? First of all, let's just start with Sudan. Sudan is either sub-Saharan African or North African, depending on who you're asking. That's number one. So you need to politically, geopolitically educate yourself. That's number one. You can't pose a question proposing that there are two different things when one thing is defined two different ways. That was worth a bomb, sa.neter. Boom. That's number one. Okay? So depending on who you're talking to, when you're talking about Sudan, they're either North Africans or they're sub-Saharan Africans. Right? It depends on who you're talking to, right? The Sahel, south of the Sahara Desert, can be considered as the southern boundary. That's why I asked you, where does the southern boundary of Sahara end? You don't know. You don't know where it begins or where it ends, but you're trying to highlight a point that doesn't even exist, right? By repeating European points. The Sahel south of the Sahara. Look, the Sahel, which is south of the Sahara Desert. It's not even in the Sahara Desert. The Sahel is considered to be the southern boundary of North Africa. Did you hear that? That means that even when you're dealing with people in the Sahel, you're dealing with people who would still be considered Saharan properly. And many of the Saharan people are considered sub-Saharan African. So it all depends on who you are talking to. Now, all of these people, the Dra, this is the North African, the Dra of the people of the Adrar Governorate in southern Algeria are considered North African. But by white people standards, these people are sub-Saharan African. This dude look like somebody who's from the projects in Brooklyn, right? The dudes from Tunisia, right? They would consider him a sub-Saharan African. The Taboo of Libya, this girl here with those features, they would call her a sub-Saharan African. This Nubian in Aswan, definitely they would call him a sub-Saharan. The people, these young girls from the Western Sahara, they would call them sub-Saharan African. This girl from the Sudan, they would call her sub-Saharan African. They are all 100% North African. So what is your point? You're talking about this fake group of people called sub-Saharans that white folks made up, and you're trying to ask me a question based on white mythology. That's why our conversation went the way it went. You're trying to ask me, how am I extrapolating a Saharan people to sub-Saharan people? Neither one of these people you're describing exist. The only thing you should be talking about are black people in Africa. Period. That's it.
All right. Naeem, you up, brother? Lord Abba, Naeem.
Peace. What's going on, Sal? What's going on, brother Shaka? Long time. No speak to. Shout out, no doubt. Shout out to everybody.
I'm out of here.
Shout out to everybody on the stage. I did have a question because I came in a little late. Now, you know, when I was in the Moorish movement, whenever I said we was all Moors, everybody would get on me, right?
What do you mean when? You not in the Moorish movement anymore?
Nah, I'm not. I've been left. Where you been, Shaka? You ain't been. Shaka ain't been around, son. I've been left that. Although, but I still consider myself a Moor. I still abide by those teachings that Noble Drew Ali brought. I believe them to be all wise, right, and exact, and they have made me a better man. Right. So, I came in when I heard you say, and I was trying to understand the premise. When I heard you saying like we and most of us are not from West Africa, one of the things that I did was I pulled up obviously my 23andMe DNA test, and because I wanted to look at what it broke down to. Of course, it's going to use the term sub-Saharan, 89%, and then it breaks down 71% West African, and then it breaks that down, and then it says 17.7% East African. So I'm just trying to follow your logic because I wasn't here in the beginning to hear the presentation. I'm just trying to understand where you're going with what you're teaching tonight.
Right. The other thing that I want to address before I answer that and respond to that, and thank you for the question, Abba, is that the reason why I ended the sentence that I ended it when I quoted it from the study, it was not to be deceptive. It's because the study did not designate that it was not the western part of the continent. It used West in a general sense. So if it's West in a general sense, there is nothing in the sentence that says it's not designating the western part of the continent. We have every right to extrapolate to the western part of the continent. Why are you putting a limitation on it? Why are you what do you want to limit it to? The Western Desert? It didn't say the Western Desert of Egypt. It just said West, right? So last time I checked, West Africa is in the West. So what we're looking for are directional migrations. So if the scientific report says that they're migrating to the West and Northwestern, that's the topic that we're talking about. Did they go west? Did they migrate to the West? I don't need an address, right? Maybe you need an address that they went to in the West. I don't need an address. You went to the West. That's all I need to know for me. in the topic. I need to, did you migrate west? Is there scientific documentation saying that people from the Nile Valley migrated to the west? I saw it. The documentation is there. I ended the sentence where I ended it. But the reason I also did it is that I also know I never teach anything and don't expect anyone to fact check me. So when you go behind me and read the whole thing in context, you're going to see there's nothing that I said that it did not say in the article.
Shaka, can I say something right there?
No, man. No, man, I got to go through the list.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for the response.
So Abba, again, it's okay. So you have to understand, Europeans make the test. Okay, Europeans make the test, and they also define the terminology used to describe the conclusions and answers from the test. Right. So when they say you're such and such 72% West African or whatever number that it gave you, right? It's only extrapolating back to those people who are in West Africa today. That's it. The people who are in West Africa today, many of the people who are in West Africa today will tell you themselves. I know because my mother lives in West Africa. My mother is a member of a West African nation state. Okay? They will tell you that they do not come from West Africa. That's not Shaka Utmost. That is the West Africans themselves. They will tell you they do. Go talk to the Iwe, the Ewe. Okay? Talk to the Akan, right? Talk to the Olaf. Talk to the Sadir. Talk to them. If you talk to them, they will tell you they do not come from West Africa. They ended up in West Africa. Their origins are in the East. They all have Eastern origin stories. Why? Because you, Lord Abba, yourself, have no documentation that shows life began in West Africa. So if life didn't begin in West Africa, they had to come from someplace else. That's
a separate point, Brother Shaka. Right now, I've done a lot of research that showed that many tribes.
By the way, it's not a separate point; it's the point.
I got you. Well, to me, I'm going to view it as a separate point. Those people that make up many of those West African kingdoms, I've documented this. Brother Wesley Muhammad has documented it. Make claims that they come from the East. Some interpret East to mean Arabia, others interpret East to mean Canaan. So I get that part of it. But when the transatlantic slave trade is happening at its peak, those people are already settled from the central or eastern part of Africa into West Africa. You brought up the Sahara.
That's not true. You just mentioned that you didn't see the earlier part of my presentation.
Okay, I did not.
I showed documentation that documented that the slaves, the people who were enslaved, when it was at its height, did not come from the West. The people in the West acted as middlemen. They went into the hinterland, 1,000 miles into the body of the continent, damn near towards Sudan, to get slaves, to enslave people. They were enslaving people that they themselves felt they had no connection to. That's why they were able to do it, because the people innerland that were not from the West, if you have to travel, and all you got to do is read the documentation. If you got to travel for 3 months to get to the coast as a slave, guess what, Abba? It means you didn't come from the West. It's common sense. My little 10-year-old nephew understands this stuff. It's common sense.
Well,
if you have to travel 3 months to get from the inner part of the continent, damn near the Sudan, Central Africa. If you draw a circle around Central Africa, it touches on the Sudan, it touches on Chad, on Niger, it touches on a lot of different places that they don't consider to be sub-Saharan Africans.
All right, let me before we move on, I just want to say I didn't see the beginning of your presentation, so I can't make that assessment either way. So you yelling at the screen for nothing right now. When I go back and I look at your presentation, I could better make a determination by vetting your sources to see if the majority of those people that you're speaking about that were transported to the West actually come from Central Africa? Or are you just looking at, documentation that notes that there were some incursions into Central and East Africa, and those people were brought back to West Africa and then ultimately sold to European slavers? So, I'll go back. I'll go back.
Look at my screen. Look at my screen. Look at my screen. Look at my screen, Abba. Okay. As the this is from geography.name. It's just a pure geography website. It's not a black website. It's not a white website. It just deals with geography. I went to the section on slavery. As the demand for slaves grew, some groups of Central Africans became more deeply involved in the trade, opening new territories in the interior as sources of slaves. Interior. Do you know what interior means? That means interior, not the coast, not the west.
Shaka, remember who you talking to, Shaka. Remember who you talking to, bro.
Okay. Opening new territories in the interior as sources of slaves. Warlords led raids into the population centers of these territories and sent caravans. You only use caravans when you're traveling over long distances in time. Sent caravans of captives, back to the coast. That means that they were not from the coast, okay? The slave trade eventually included enslaved Africans from regions as distant as the center of the continent, almost 1,000 miles from the coast. I didn't make it up. I'm telling you and now the thing is with that documentation is in so many different texts, it's not even funny. You don't need one text for that.
Like the video, thumb up the video.
Yeah, that's commonly known by people who study the slave trade.
Hold on. How did you do that in the middle of the...
Hold on, Lava. We got to move on. We got a house full, brother.
I know. I was saying,
Abba,
wait, real quick, Shaka.
Abba, hold on.
I'm just critiquing Sa real quick.
Abba, hold on 1 second. I have the floor.
Go ahead, brother.
All I'm telling you is that you cannot say that the majority of the people who were enslaved came from the West, because that was not the trajectory of the slave trade. The trajectory of the slave trade was the people in West Africa, the people on the coastal regions. Those people acted as middlemen between the people who came to get slaves on the coast and where they were getting their supply from, which were, as the documentation said, the population centers in the interior, almost 1,000 miles away. 1,000 miles is a long way. 1,000 miles away. That's 1/3 from New York to California. 1,000 miles away.
Right. We got to move on.
Hey, D. Sa, I just want to say to you, when somebody's speaking, you can't do the thumbs up the video. Shaka just got completely cut off.
I was going to say that. Let me tell you something, Lord Abba. That's why I wait, for a fraction of a second to pause. And once you pause, I throw it in there.
I got you. All right, Shaka. I'm going to finish watching from YouTube.
Thinking. Right. All right. Let's move on. Yeah, I know what that means, right?
It was Mike yet.
Apostle, let's go, baby. What's up, bro? Big brother. Your mic ain't working, bro. I hear it. Nah, man. We can't hear you, bro.
Can't hear you.
Check your mic cords, Apostle.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
No, you real low though, brother. You real tiny and low. And listen.
Tell you, oh my God.
But listen,
what it is, man.
Apostle, you are not the keynote speaker, so I can't share your screen, brother. The only one that shares screens is Shaka.
Look at a map. That's all I want to do.
No, you got to ask Shaka. You got to ask him. I don't, is it all right?
What map do you want me to look at? What map do you want me to look at?
A map of Africa.
I just had one up on the screen a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I got a full one.
Okay, but what's your point?
I want to look at the distance between coastal Africa and in turn Middle Africa, Central Africa. I just want to look at it.
Oh, I know what your point is. I hear what your point is.
Hey, you know what, Apostle? I'm gonna tell you something.
Why don't you just tell us?
Hold on, Shaka. What you need to do? Cut all that stuff off. Cut off your road. Cut all that off, and just use your computer. It'll be way better right now. Just use your computer. Cut your road off. Trust me. Cut all that off. You ain't using the microphone. You're just gonna use your computer. And you're gonna use the mic from your computer.
sa.neter, in the meantime, let's move on to the next one because I really have to end it. Hey, sa.neter, let's move on to the next one because I really have to wrap it up.
All right. We're gonna move on, Apostle, because we can't hear you, brother.
Apostle, can you give us a distance that you want to just give us? You can tell us without showing us. We're listening.
Yeah.
All right, sa.neter, move on to the next one.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Apostle. Sorry, man.
Move on to the next one.
Okay.
So y'all don't hear me now. You don't
no.
I hear him a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. We hear you a little bit. Go ahead.
Number one, first of all, you said what you was talking about King James. What you were talking about King James. Nobody asked where King James was from. Well, that's not true. He was King James of Scotland. King Edward was King Edward of England.
You missed my point. You missed my point. We don't need the history lesson on where he was from. You missed the point that I was making as to why I brought that up. And I can tell you missed it just by the way you answered the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
sa.neter,
let me say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say that. Let me get through. sa.neter's going to cut me off in a minute.
Hey, look, hey, sa.neter. I've dealt with him before in the past. I don't want to deal with him this evening. Let's move on to the next one. I don't want to deal with him this evening.
All right. Jose, you on the call, brother? Jose.
Good night, everyone. How are you?
Good. What's up, Jose?
I have a quick question for you, Shaka. For someone like me who doesn't really speak Medu-Neter,
okay,
like the TLA and St. James Corpus in order to get the Medu-Neter. Are you familiar?
I'm sorry, you went out for a second. Could you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, you know too, man. Come on.
Like me who is teaching myself rudimentary Medu-Neter.
Right.
To get the Medu-Neter, I look at the TLA and St. James Corpus. Are you familiar? Okay. Are you familiar with those sites? And do you think
the TLA, yes, not the St. James Corpus.
Okay, but do you think that the TLA is a good site for someone like me to read?
Of course. Of course.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Primary source though, and
also the Mark Vigus dictionary is pretty good.
I have it.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, the Vigus dictionary is good. I love the Vigus because it's more extensive and it's pretty quick. There's another one that I use. I can't quite think of the name of it. I'd have to go look for it.
What about?
I got.
I can't remember.
I have the Vigus. I use the Vigus. I have some of the grammar books.
But I mean, if you've got the TLA, you should be good.
Yeah. All right. And another question. For someone like me who's starting to study and is very indisciplined with studying, how would you suggest that I try to develop discipline in studying? Because I'm I have a low attention span. For real. Don't laugh at me, Shaka, but it's true.
Oh, oh man, that's like saying I'm allergic to martial arts, but I want to be an MMA fighter. Because you're all right. So let's rock with this then. If you have a compromised attention span, then that means the superhero in your life is going to be, watch this, are you ready? Your focus, because your attention span and your focus aren't necessarily the same thing, and they don't necessarily come from the same place, right? Your attention span might be under the influence of, I don't know, maybe you got bills to pay, and so you're giving everything around you only a certain amount of attention, or maybe you're an internet freak like I am, and that can really damage your that could do horrible stuff to your attention span.
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm one who I think watches way too much social media, and it's not good for
Yeah.
you.
So I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I can always tell when I've been watching too much social media. You know how? If I sit down to read a book, I will literally fall asleep within 10 to 15 minutes. And at that point, I will find myself fighting to stay awake. But here's the thing, because I know how it works like a muscle. You gotta keep forcing yourself to stay awake while you're reading, and just go for at least an hour and a half. You're gonna keep falling asleep, but every time you wake up, just keep reading. Every time you wake up, keep reading, because what's gonna happen is that the next time you do it, you're gonna fall asleep less and less and less until you build up. You have to build up the stamina. You got to build up your focus is like a muscle. The more you work on it, the stronger your muscle gets. It's the same thing with your focus. So the first thing is stop reading on the internet unless you're reading an actual book out of Kindle. If you're using your Kindle to read, then go ahead. If you're not using Kindle to read, then you need to have your face in a physical book. And physical books, by the way, are better than reading online, because there's a whole neurological thing involved with the act of reading from a book that causes you to retain the information longer.
Shaka, you know how long it took me it took me about 6 months to read 2 Medu Nature books, and you wouldn't believe that. 2 grammar books. It took about 6 months.
All right. Thank you.
Do you know how long it's taken me to get through this? And
No.
it's a small ass book. I've been reading this book for at least 2 months. A small book, because the internet does that to your focus.
All right.
And that's why I've been jumping back into books. But yeah, definitely stay in that TLA, but also get James, get Allen's Middle Egyptian. You definitely want to have that. Oh, you got James, because if you got James P. Allen, you're good. And the reason why you want James P. Allen is that it's not just about knowing the glyphs. You have to remember, it was a language, right? So as a language, it is subject to certain grammar. You want to learn that grammar. How is it? Because the grammar is going to determine which glyph you use. Oh, I saw him.
All right.
This is the toughest environment to be in, and we're busting pinatas.
You are in the house of consciousness, God damn it!
All right, Asa, you on the call, brother? What's up?
Man, Emetep to the whole panel. My brothers on here, and of course, do I say, but Shaka for breaking it down today. It's surprising they hop on here and don't know about the Middle Passage or know how Somalia got the Haiti, which is through the Middle Passage, coming around and ending up mostly Haiti, while a lot of Haiti people look like Ethiopian and Somalian people in the first place. But I wanted you to elaborate on something, because we both know about the fake article that covers the DNA from the Ptolemaic cemetery, which everybody keeps spewing from. But if you allow me to share my screen so you can build on something from Gunther Dacker, who shows the original DNA series and shows you exactly where it comes from. With my big brother's permission, can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Let me share it. Let me see right here.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll pull up some of my DNA studies.
Okay.
It'll
Can you guys see my
with
screen? Let me back it up. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So this is Gunther Dacker's. This is the original DNA study that showed the craniums, the this, the that, and he shows you the averages from Thuya, Yuya, Amenhotep III, what have you, and he shows you that they're connected to Southern Africans, who some of our supposed black people keep calling sub-Saharan. We don't use that term. That's a slanderous term. We say Southern Africans, but we're talking about the North. So there should be no need for you to say sub-Saharan at all.
Right.
But these are the samples here, and we can see clearly that they're all African matching. Can you elaborate anything and you can see the lesson part is from Mesopotamia, like 0.06% Mesopotamian. So they're related to Africans.
Right. So what I'm trying to do right now, I want to find some genetic studies that I have that are very relevant to what we're talking about. Wish me luck on that. Let's see.
Well, I got the chart right here showing. That's why. But see, Southern African, the Egyptians were more related to. African Great Lakes, they're more related to. As you go down, the people that they're claiming, like Arabians, they're only 6% on average.
Yeah, right. Very, very, very low. Very, very low gene flow. Yes.
Your
Very,
tropical
very low
West
gene flow.
African, 83.74%. So what the Horn of Africa is 14.4. So all of this here is pointing to deep African roots to ancient Egypt, as opposed to what they keep claiming. But here's the actual official study with the majority of the bodies that they use, not that isolated cemetery.
Right. Actually, to be quite honest, what most people don't realize is that here's some good stuff that I have. I haven't been through this stuff for a minute, but they're really good studies. Let's see, where can I show you? I'll show you this if I can. I'm gonna put that down. I'm gonna open this up. I wish I had this on a actually I can do that. I can put it on a PowerPoint real quick so you can see it bigger. I'll just open it up. Okay, I'm gonna come right here. I'm gonna open this up. I'm in Nile Valley in African Connections, and I'm just gonna make a clean slate right here for you guys. I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna put this right here, just so you can see this. This is the kind of stuff that I like. Which most Europeans have to do with coming in. Yeah, gene flow of Egyptian Copts. Yeah. Oh man, this is a bunch of good. I haven't been through this stuff in a minute. Okay. Yeah, like when I ride, man, I ride on people. So I'm just going into some of my stuff that I have it. Here.
Pause.
But can also be found in Arab populations. There's a bunch of genetic stuff that I have here. Okay, cool. All right. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna put this here, and I'm gonna let y'all watch me do this. You see, I'm not bullshitting. Like this is literally what I'm doing. Share screen, entire screen, allow. Okay. You guys, you can see my PowerPoint, right? It's open.
Not yet.
Okay, it should be. Hold on a second. Can you see it? It's just a white screen. It's my PowerPoint. That's strange.
Shaka trying to share the PowerPoint.
Hey, Sa. All right, I'll try again. sa.neter. I think you had the sa.neter. Can you hear me? Oh, he's on the phone. When he's on the phone, forget about it. He's talking to Zelensky. He's talking to Zelensky, people. He has to stop World War III from coming in. You know how Sa is, right? Because I wanted you to actually see what I was doing. It's just something I like to let people see so they can see how I operate, how I work, what it is that I do. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this closed. This might be a bit more, I wouldn't say detailed, because I was in the heat of, probably when I made this, I was probably in the heat of battle with some modern Egyptians. So let's see. I have no idea. Let's see. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna put this.
Sa, he's trying to share his pay. He's trying to share his.
You don't have nothing up this year.
Oh
no, but I did, and you wasn't.
No, I seen it, and when I tried to click on it, you went back out.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay.
Come on, man. I'm focused, man. I'm right here.
Nah, you wasn't focused. I was sharing the first time. Right. All right. Hey, yo, Sa, share my screen, man.
I see it. You ain't got to say it, brother. I got you.
All right. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to take the rest here. Okay. And I'm going to put this here. Oops. Nope. Okay. Oh, all right. That's fine. I'm going to take that there, and I'm just going to put this here. All right. So I'm going to let you see. I'm literally just putting this on the screen now for you guys to see. Let's see. Here we go. Get that up there. I don't know why this thing is all over the place. Okay. This thing translated sloppily. Okay, no big deal. We're here. Everybody's okay. Everybody's okay. All right. Okay, and that should be that. So that gives me 1, 2. I have no idea what I'm about to read. All I know is it's relevant to the topic. Okay? All I know is it's relevant to the topic. I literally have no idea what I'm about to read. So here we go. Come back here. And that should be it. And there was one other last part of that I didn't take. And that's going to be this right here. No. Oh, this goes deep. Oh, yeah. Great. Wonderful. There's more that I didn't take. So I'm just going to give you guys all of this. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Here we go. And this is going to be on the next page. So you guys can see it. This is, you're looking at my genetic, well, you're looking at, I was probably debating somebody who was talking smack. And so I was just like, okay, let's just let the facts speak for themselves. And that's what I chose to do, which is what I usually do. All right, so we'll start from the top, right? Everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Genes of Egyptians and Copts. The DNA of modern Egyptians and Copts, which is mostly European, has nothing to do with the DNA of the people of Kemet. The Copts and the Egyptians have a historically documented shared history. This is, by the way, this is from Northeast African genomic variation shaped by continuity of indigenous groups and Eurasian migrations, right? This is from the NCBI, NIH, National Institute of Health.gov, blah, 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 blah. The Copts and the Egyptians have a historically documented shared history. We further investigate the relationships of the Copts and the Egyptians to other groups. All population histories tested at every possible combination of either Copts or Egyptians and Bedouin and Nuer and Jew, those are the Nilotic people, as outgroup to the others were rejected. Statistic, blah, 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 which points to a non-tree-like history of the Copts and Egyptians. So whatever their relationship is genetically, it is non-tree-like. Okay, that's significant. Our results instead indicate that they are an admixed population of at least one sub-Saharan population and one Eurasian population, but had subsequent admixture with additional groups. The population tree that has the most support finds the Nuer, the Nilotic, as an outgroup to the Bedouin and Copts. D. Jew, Hornsey, Nuer, Bedouin, Copts. It gives you 0.13 plus Z 5.550. The Copts were estimated to be, are you ready? The Copts, 69.54, let's just say 70%, right? Or 72%. 72%. The Copts, who they claim are the natives, are the same people of dynastic Egypt. They are 70% European ancestry. That's what the genes say. 70% European ancestry. And the Egyptians are 70, talking about the modern Egyptians, they are 70+%, plus or minus 2.4, so we can say almost 73%. 73% European ancestry. That is what the genes say. Forget about all that other stuff about blackness and black that. Let's talk about what they are. See, they never want to do that. They are European ancestry. That's from the Northeast African genomic variation shaped by continuity of indigenous groups and Eurasian migrations. Note, these are the plus or minus numbers. COP 66, which means 72. If you do the plus, it's 72.11% European, right? The Egyptians, if you do the plus, 73.12% European. So you're basically talking about a people who are almost 75% European. No Europeans built those pyramids or that civilization, nor are they so-called descendants of the native population of that state. See, they never talk about that. Let me just stop for a second. They never talk about the fact that they are 75% European. And it's in the genes and it's in the documentation. There was no group in Africa that was 75% European during a dynastic period. during the third period or the fourth period or the fifth period, where are you going to find a genetic study that shows you a group of people that are 75% European? Show it to me. I'll give you $1,000 right now. Literally. I'll give you $1,000 right now if you could pull up a modern genetic study that shows that any population was 75% European during the old kingdom of Kemet when those pyramids were built. Or the Middle Kingdom.
That's what they don't understand.
Right. But you got to stop letting people frame the argument in a way that you have to argue from a position of what I call nebulousness, right? You have to argue from this ambiguous place or even from a super complex place. How about we make it real simple? Take the microscope off of us and let's put it on you. Because when we put it on you, your story don't add up. We put it on you, you're 75% European. Nobody 75% European had anything to do with a pyramid civilization, whether it was in the Americas or if it was in Africa. Those are the facts. I mean, no racist European would not today would say that. They might try to argue for some Near Eastern or Levantine flow for the original population. They'll argue for that, which is some BS, right? But these people are 75% European. And then a little bit of black you got and you is sub-Saharan, or what you call sub-Saharan. And if we go by the study that we had to debunk from naturecommunications.com, and you got to remember, naturecommunications.com is, and this is how they try to fool people. They try to fool you by using a study that came from naturecommunications.com. They know that your brain would confuse that with and confound that with Nature Journal, the Journal of Nature. They have nothing to do with each other. The Journal of Nature is a peer-reviewed journal. Naturecommunications.com is just some little bullshit website that the Max Planck Institute put up. That's why the study was bunked out of the gate. It was debunked out of the gate because there was no real science behind it. The methodology was stupid and flawed. It was like some 8th grade shit, right? But when you look at the real actual study,
yo. You just used
right.
PS, and then you use the S one. Come on, man.
You got me, right?
See, I'm listening. Don't think I'm not never listening, brother.
Okay. Yeah, the only time you hear me is when I'm using profanity. But if I'm
I'm right here.
Right? So the point I'm making is that you have to reverse the question in such a way that it puts them on the hot seat. All right, forget about you say the ancient Egyptians was not black. Let's forget the ancient Egyptians. But you do say that the modern Egyptians are the same as the natives. That's what you say. So let's look at what you are. You are 75% European, according to the documentation. I just showed you the documentation. You are 75% European. So if the documentation that said, and 2 of the scientists on that, by the way, are Egyptian. So if you are 75% European, right? The study that we had to debunk said that your African gene flow did not come until post-Roman periods because of the Arab slave trade and the Roman slave trade brought so-called sub-Saharan Africans into Egypt. So that means even your sub-Saharan African genetics don't even come from the native population of Egypt. So what are you saying? Really, what are you saying? You really basically what you're saying is you got nothing to do with the native population. That's what you're actually saying. That genetically speaking, you have nothing to do with them. That's literally what you're saying. Because you are the ones that held up that study as facts and truth. So okay, so let's go with the facts and the truth. The facts and the truth. And that study says that there was no African gene flow until the late period. Because they were trying to distance the native population from Black Africa. So then let's go with that study. If we go with that study and the study I just showed you, you are 75% European. The African that you do have in you is from sub-Saharan African. The study that you held up says there's no sub-Saharan African admixture until the late period.
Yeah.
Which means you got nothing to do with the native population.
So
stay out of the conversation. Right. So let's go back. Let's go back and see, because I want to see what else is in those genetic studies. I haven't read those things in like forever. And really, like maybe in a year, I have not looked at them, right? Because I've been busy doing other stuff. So let's look at it. Oh, Here we are.
Hey, Shaka,
right?
do you got the UNESCO report with the skull cranial reports from UNESCO? The people in
the old. You mean the old ones? Yeah, I got all of
yeah.
that. Yeah, I got all of those. Right, absolutely. So let's look at it. The 24% lightningness of sub-Saharan African and modern Egyptians. Oh, okay. This is just my personal me talking to them. Right. The 24% lightningness. This is what I was just saying. The 24% lightningness of sub-Saharan African and modern Egyptians that I just documented comes from very late migrations of sub-Saharan Africans, as mentioned in the Nature Communications Genome Mummy Study from 2017. Right. So there you go. So so this is me talking. The modern Egyptian archetype, which is usually what Eurocentrists use to represent as Egyptian, is almost 75% European. The 24% sub-Saharan African they didn't receive until the post-Roman period. So it didn't come from the majority native blacks of Kemet. And the 6%, the 6.7% Asian, East Asian, Near or Middle Eastern, also known as Arab, they have is minimal. So what are you talking about here? These people are late imposters, so says the DNA, right? And the Copts, being Egyptians themselves, do in fact share biological markers with Arab populations. How do we know? Here's the documentation that I give. Assuming few clusters, the Copts appeared admixed between Near Eastern or European populations and Northeastern Sudanese, and look similar to in their genetic profile to the Egyptians. Assuming greater number of clusters, the Copts formed their own separate ancestry components that was shared with Egyptians, but can also be found in Arab populations. Right? So that's what you're talking about. This behavior in the admixture analysis is consistent with shared ancestry between Copts and Egyptians, and or additional genetic drift in Copts. The Copts and Egyptians have a historically documented shared history. Right. So, and then the name of the study is given beneath, right? I think there's one more. Right. Population, but at least one of, well, I think I may have read this one already. Just in case, and we go through it again. The Copts and Egyptians have a historically documented shared history. We further investigate the relationship of the Copts and Egyptians to other groups. All population history is tested in every possible Copt. Yeah, I read that already. Northeastern general variation. Yeah, no, plus. Okay, yeah. So, all right. So that was it. Right. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to share that bit of those genetic tidbits with you, that these people in Egypt today who are modern Egypt, and not only that, you still have to specify, because there is no one race in Egypt. Egypt is a polyglot. It's a polyglot. So as a polyglot, you have to isolate what race are they actually talking about. They're actually talking about what we would call in the Americas the mestizo race. The mestizo race in Egypt are those people, when you look at them, you don't know what the hell they are. Are you black? Are you white? Are you everything in between? And they look like they're admixed of everything in between. That mestizo type is what you call the archetype for the modern Egyptian phenotype. That is who they hold up as the Egyptian. They don't go to Aswan, right? They don't deal with the Greek and Roman and Jewish populations in the north, because these are all Egyptians. They're all Egyptians. What they've done is they've given you this fantasy-like figure from the mestizo population, right? That's what we call them in the Americas. When you go to Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and places like that, they call them mestizo. Mix, admixture. Just a word for mulatto. Mix. That's what, or miscegenated, right? That's what they are. That's literally what they are. In fact, there are mestizo studies done that include the archetype population of Egypt today. But nobody ever tells you that they are racially or ethnically classified within the same type of admixture as are the people of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and places like that. But the term that they use, they have an Arabic term. In fact, I have it in one of my presentations. So in that presentation, and it's actually much more genetic detail that I give in that presentation. But what I want you to know, my central message, my core message, is that Asar Mka was dead on in highlighting the affinity of the African. Look, those African cranial measurements All you have to do is look at the skull of those Africans from the Nile Valley. They got that big ass hump on the back like Tupac had. that King Tut had. That big ass hook. Why? Because they had big brains. That's why. They had big brains. We fucked around and admixed. Oh, sorry. We messed around and admixed with these people, and we lost our hook. Do you know how bad I want one of them hooks? Oh man, you have no idea how bad I want one of them hooks. I would love to be able to turn to the side and just go, excuse me.
It ain't the Nubian lip, it's the Egyptian hook. That's right.
I love it. I think, especially when you see it on children, it really stands out on the children. If you see the Ethiopian children and you see the Kenyan children, it really stands. You see it in Ghana too, actually. When you look at the children, it really, really stands out, and I love it because it's showing you the way that the skull had to accommodate the brain. You had all of that. Man, that's my next study that I'm doing. You guys might really want to check that out on Facts Over Feelings on the Shaka Utmost YouTube channel. I'm telling you now, I'm doing a presentation on the brain. It's going to be dope. I'll probably end up coming here and doing it anyway, just for my brother Sa, so his audience can have that. But you need to have that because at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about. People need to get out of this whole, was there a connection from West Africa to Egypt? You need to talk about why they don't want Black people connected to Egypt. They don't want Black people connected to Egypt because of a question of intelligence. It has nothing to do with anything else. It has to do with intelligence. And Black people don't want to have that discussion about the real discussion about the attack on your intelligence. You would literally rather talk about everything else because to go into that discussion is going to require real research and you're going to have to really dot your I's and cross your T's, know who's who and what's what. And Black people don't want to do that. I got my presentation done and ready. My presentation is almost finished, but it's just to show you the assault on Black intelligence. That's what it's all about. That's what this whole attack on DEI is all about. It's an assault on Black intelligence. Period. It's always been about a war against our intelligence. Always. It's always been about that. When did they first come to power? When they shut our temples down. Two things. When they shut our temples. Did this fool just end it? Yo, sa.neter, I know you did not just end it like that.
Nah, that's just a warning. That's just a warning.
Oh,
we winding down. We're winding down.
All right. So the point I'm making, guys, I was glad to be able to have this discussion, but I would really like to see the discussion move to a more pertinent discussion, and that is the systemic attack on Black intelligence. And that is a much more pertinent discussion that we need to have. And you really need to have it because your children are going to suffer from you not having it. From us not having it, our children are going to suffer. You think their intelligence is not still being attacked? They're not even allowed to demonstrate in the universities anymore without going to jail or possibly being deported. And not only that, who do you think is running to be the next president? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Somebody raise your hand. Tell me if you know. Nobody knows who's running to be the next president. Well, let me tell you who's running to be the next president. And he already has the financial backing to do it. His name is J.D. Vance. He's your current vice president.
Just about to say that, man. Just about to say it.
Yeah, we don't get points for just about in here. I'm saying, you know, Elder, I got love for you, but we don't get points for just about. J.D. Vance.
You got a bug on your mic, Shaka, for some reason.
I got a bug on my mic.
Yeah, it's bugging. It's like,
is it really?
It sounds like bees. It sounds like a lot of bees in the building.
It might just be the connection.
Yeah, you got the wind thing playing on the side. That's what it is. Killer bees is in the building.
Imitap said, Imitap, my brothers on the panel.
Close out.
Yo, is my voice still buzzing?
Yeah, you got the killer bees here. Just close out, brother. Come on, man.
All right. No, you know what? He just wants me to stop, so he's doing something to my mic. He's putting distortion in my mic. Uncle Johnson, there, Hotep. I'm out. That's all you do. I know you. All right, Hotep.
All right, peace, everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in. thank all the people who came through and showing love and making this possible. I thank y'all.
Frankie and the trendsetter, sa.neter, you did it again, man. General, HOK Field Marshal, none of them can bother than sa.neter. Revelation, violate the general, end up in a blood clot funeral home. Anchor the AK, Jabari got the chrome. Hector Sahara, we sending them home. Regina the alley with a Cuban and a galley. Send you back on Nile Valley with a shot in a your toe intellectually. How click the link if your scholarship sloppy. More just want make you cry with the truth. No lie, my youth in my really scored and 21 gun salute for commission. Not a brother, a hustle, a move like all left on the black woman not all like Dulce and the Yana past sister freedom. I the whole panel know what time for Bible thumping the minute them see me come. Revelation set Frankie are the trendsetter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. Them got a podcast but saw better.
Coast to coast, we be banging. Bringing all this knowledge, we be slanging. In the HOK, we don't do no entertaining.
Speak the truth, speak the facts.
What the niggas just a layman. Better get on one accord. The future can be yours. Ancestors push you more. We gotta go explore. The sciences and math. The future's based on class. You bout to catch my wrath. We turning up this track.
In the dark minds of the light.
The dark heart still fight. We gotta make this right. Talk right now. We learn how to stand up and stand proud. No man down. We fam now. House of the conscious, my clan now.
Frankie are the trendsetter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. Them got a podcast but saw better.
When I look at you niggas, I see what I'm not. Go take him, a little bit of her, mix it with them, I put them in a pot. You still can't get none like me. It might sound the same, but it's unlikely. One white tee, if I lift it up, you niggas gonna see what it come might be. I thought I told ya. Afro Nation, revelation, we some soldiers. sa.neter put this team together, now it's over. We got the weight of the world up on my shoulder. When you get conscious information, hearts turn colder. Now look at these strappers who rapping the same, so stuck in their lane, systemically, chemically. I'm thinking something is wrong with their brain. As long as they paid and flying the chain, I got nothing to say. They in love with the gang. I traded my gang for change, and now that I changed, a few things still say the same.
Frankie are the trendsetter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. None of them can mother than sa.neter. Them got a podcast but saw better.